February the 1st in 4 games on their home court. Time now to check out the starters for the Buckeyes now for Ohio State.
And we'll be seeing a lot of back row action from both liberos, both on Penn State and Ohio State's team.
That is a specialist in the back row that can go in an unlimited number of times. So all I can do is play the back row for the middle blockers. So Ohio State to serve. Rhett Verson, the opposite, out of Centerville, the land of the Elks, to get us started here on CSN. Block at the net by Ohio State. A good shot there by number 14, Matt Anderson. He plays the opposite out of West Seneca, New York.
Yeah, nice big approach. You're going to see him starting from way behind the 10-foot line, getting that big 3-step approach and choosing where he wants to kill.
And here's the young man we talked about in the open now, Max Holt, out of Purcell Marion, middle blocker. 2 Maxes on the team. He's the older, so he's known as Max. Buckeyes with a good dig there to save it. On the outside with the attack. Nice block at the net by Penn State, but it sails wide.
The pass actually brought the setter off the net, and it was a great set by Dan Matthews. Perfectly placed, but a better placed shot. Those are hard balls to get defensively when it goes off the block's hands.
And a service ace.
That time it went out of the blocker's hands, out of bounds.
Sam Stevens with a service ace, the pride of Miami, Florida, and really solid all year. Has no weaknesses in his game. He's a good passer, server, defender, decent blocker. Posted a career high 4 assist blocks at Loyola last week. Buckeyes up now in this contest 2-1. Set it to that. Good get by the Buckeyes. Pushes it over, and nobody there after Aaron Smith got a paw on it. Sent it with that knuckleball, and it looked like Alex Guter was trying to adjust to it and slipped down on the far side.
Now, it's important to note in the passing game, if a ball is passed, and I'm talking about serve receive, if a ball is passed perfectly to the setter, it's called a 3. The setter can set all 3 hitters. When the ball is passed off the net, if the setter only has 2 hitting options, it's called a 2. With the serve being so tough in the men's game, we really want to see what the setters can do when they're pulled off the net, when they only have 2 offensive weapons to go to.
Take a look at this point by Penn State as they're back in this now 3-2.
Again, a nice back set, just crushing it cross court.
Matt Anderson, we talked about him. Good strength. Here's a guy, though, they were concerned about during their California trip when they went out there, Audrey. He had about 140 swings in 5 games, so they gave him some rest. It looks like his shoulder is pretty healthy right now. Buckeyes on the attack. Trying to find the opening. Nicely done for Ohio State. But the spike by John Albertson, a middle hitter out of Baldwin, Missouri.
Here you see the classic quick ending rallies with a good pass, a very powerful hit at the net.
He's playing the opposite. He's in the lineup now because of the injury to Dan Miske. Miske has been dealing with a knee injury. He's been on the bench, although he may play some in the back row for the Buckeyes here in this contest. Slammed down nicely, Penn State. Buckeyes, Penn State going back and forth. Remember, it's the first 1 to 30, and you have to win by 2.
Well, let's look at this beautiful set by Luke Murray. He's actually moving along the net. It's a great time to set a quick attack. The middle blocker for Ohio State needs to follow the setter and follow the middle hitter in order to be in good position to block.
A lot of jump serves in this contest, and a service error there by Alex Guter, pride of Green Hill, Texas, by way of the Ukraine. Actually moved to the United States back in 9th grade, and that time maybe too much elevation, lost control in midair, put it into the net. And the Buckeyes now serving, leading 5-3 in this contest, and that's Dan Matthews to the honors. And turnabout is fair play.
Yep, they just exchanged points there, and actually in the men's game, the serve is high risk. You want to really rip the ball from the end line. Like I said earlier, you want to try and get teams out of system. So they take a lot of risks on this jump serve.
This is Max Lipsitz. He is the younger of the Maxes, so there we go. He is known as Junior of the 2, and that one hits and just finally finds the top of the net and dribbles over. You talked about taking chances on the serves. That time Lipsitz comes through, and now Penn State has tied this match at 5 apiece. He was the player of the week back on March the 27th in their league in the EIVA. Good dig by the Buckeyes. But they can't get to it, and now Penn State takes the lead 6-5 here in game 1.
That topspin serve comes at you so quickly. You have to shuffle your feet and try and get behind the ball. If you stick your arms out and the platform is not facing the setter, which is your target, you're going to get aced.
What I like about Lipsitz is he's very level-headed as a youngster, just a freshman out there, and does not let the game dictate his play. Very much on an even keel. Murray with the set, and they slam it down. Nicely done. On a spike that time, Max Holt, the middle blocker out of Purcell Marion.
Man, Holt got all of that ball. It was perfectly timed. He's actually well in the air when the setter is touching the ball. Here you see the setter touching it. He's in the air ready, and that quick snap allows the ball to go down with a lot of velocity.
So Lipsitz continues to serve with his team now up by 2 at 7-5. He hands that one into the net, so the Buckeyes get a point, and now a chance to serve in the person of Robbie Klein. If he gets hot, this is a guy that many people in the country cannot stop. He's not always that consistent, but he's having his best season, still learning. And he's a guy that's just a sophomore eligibility-wise for Pete Hansen and company. 6 serving to 7, and that serve sails long. So Penn State picks up another point now, up 8-6 in this contest. And Matt Anderson, a sophomore, the opposite, pounded out a career high, a new rally scoring era high of 35 kills. And Penn State got by number 4 ranked Cal Santa Barbara a couple of weeks ago. Buckeyes with the dig. There's the set. And into the double team block of the net.
Well, a very aggressive hit by number 9, Sam Stevens. 2 big blockers right in front of him. You see a nice set to the outside, and he manages to use the block. It doesn't really necessarily matter how high you get on the block, it's how far over you get. And sometimes the higher you get, the more you're just a target for that hitter to hit.
Tooled off the block nicely, but Penn State answers it now. Pick up a point and have a chance to serve as well. As 9 serving 7 here in game 1.
Well, look at that. The quick attacker came up, held the middle block for Ohio State. The setter, Luke Murray, chose the second tempo set. There was 1 block, big kill for Penn State.
That was Scooter with the kill on that one. Here's the serve. The Buckeyes down by 2 in game number 1. Cross court sails too strong from Brett Verson, and Penn State cushions their lead now up 10-7. We mentioned Gooter back serving before, and now it's Aaron Smith back there for Penn State, a middle blocker out of Williamsville, Williamsville, New York, known as Junior. And here's his jump serve. And it's just in.
Hits the line, yep, hits the line, and it's in. And there's a line judge there to see it. It's a good call.
So Ohio State will burn a timeout now, down early, 11-7 here in game number 1. So we said we played the best of 5. And earlier this season, Penn State a winner at home over Ohio State. 30-32. The Buckeyes took the first game, but then Penn State came back, won 31-29, 30-27, and 30-26. So you can't get much closer in 4 games, as the 2 teams did earlier this season back on February the 1st. Fans, you can tune into CSN for coverage of Ohio State's next men's volleyball game against the Hawks of Quincy University. Now, the game is going to be tape delayed Saturday, April the 7th at 8 a.m. and again at 4 p.m. Tom Pronto and yours truly for the call right here on CSN. It's local sports now is Mark Pavlik in his huddle right now. He has to be happy with his team's start.
Well, absolutely. They're serving aggressively. They're running a crisp offense. I really like Luke Murray. Not a huge kid. He's only 6 foot. And if you look up and down the roster, you've got kids on Penn State's team at 6'9", 6'7". This is a big man's game.
And we've got some of the numbers already here in game number 1. And you look at Penn State, very efficient on the attack at 833.
Yeah, if you can hit 833, you're doing darn good. So Penn State's got to be pleased with their offense. Right now, OSU needs to track their hitters, try and figure out ahead of time who they predict the ball is going to go to offensively, line up in front of them. But that attack from Penn State is really quick. Smith
too strong on the serve that time, so Brett Verson with the honors for Ohio State. Buckeyes down in this contest. Penn State up 11-8. There's the back set by Murray and cross-court attempt. Buckeyes try to save it. They do so in the person of Matthews. Sends it across. And the Buckeyes find the opening in the back row.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of back row attacks. Penn State did one from the right side in that rally. Ohio State did one to score and end the rally. And a back row attack is legal as long as you take off behind the 10-foot line. You can land from your jump inside the 10-foot line. And actually, you want, as a setter, to try and lead your hitter as much as you possibly can.
3-1 now for the Buckeyes here. Matthews with the set. And a solid poke by Robbie Klein. Robbie Klein's been on fire now for Ohio State. We've mentioned that could be a key factor in this contest for the Buckeyes. So far, he's set an early torrid pace for the Scarlet and Gray.
Well, you just need a go-to hitter on the outside. Oftentimes, the outside hitter gets all the sets that take the setter off the net. So you really have to be efficient. You have to hit shots, and Robbie Klein is doing that for his team tonight.
Person with a jump serve. That one sails too strong. Well, Klein, too, last weekend had a solid weekend despite the split by the Buckeyes. He had double-figure kills in both road matches. He had 17 at Lewis at a 367 clip, adding an ace serve. And he also handled 37 of 38 reception attempts in that match as well. Penn State with the honors now in the person of Max Holt. Matthews sets off the block. Yeah, nicely done by Ohio State. Good job by Sam Stevens on the outside.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about Dan Matthews. He's the setter and he's front row, so he can attack. He jump sets. You're going to see that middle blocker for Penn State go up with him, and then he chooses to dish the ball to the outside. So nice offensive play by Dan Matthews, the setter for OSU. Buckeyes
one away from tying this one. They go for a little push over the net. Nicely done. They found the seam. That's the thing, too, Audrey, in this game. You keep thinking fastball, 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 then all of a sudden they throw that little changeup, and it finds the opening in the front row.
Yeah, you don't see it very often, but defensive players are usually back on their heels, ready for one to come busting at them. So a little tip, little roll shot works every once in a while.
Lipsitz did it that time. Lipsitz coming up with it again. Max Lipsitz showing you a variety of shots. First of all, the little touch, and then the speed, and going with the angular shot. Now Penn State gets the cushion back out to 3 at 14-11. Here's Luke Murray. And that's just a soft serve by him. See if the Buckeyes can take advantage of that, but the block at the net. And again, it is Max Lipsitz with the solid block, a single block at the net. And just like that, the lead is up to 4. Tell you what, it's Klein early for Ohio State, and Lipsitz has been setting the pace here for the Nittany Lions. Murray with the serve, a guy that comes from a state high school program that won 4 state championships in a row, and he was there for all 4 of those. Send over a triple block for the Buckeyes in front, and it pays off that time as Ohio State picks up the point.
Well, a nice job by Ohio State's front row to notice that Matt Anderson's front row, he's been powerful all night. Let's put up a triple block. Watch this. Big time block. And they cannot transition to score off that.
Albertson serving for Ohio State. And slam down again. Lipsitz is on fire up front. Max can hit it on the way up. Can wait till it reaches the zenith of its arc, and that time hit that one on the way up, and just changing that timing so much can really screw up the timing of the block as well.
Yeah, and he is just a freshman, so what a great career he has ahead of him at Penn State. And you know, the junior national team program has already scouted him. I'm sure that he's going to be training with them this summer. He's got a ton of potential.
16 serving to 12 and slammed down nicely on the outside for the Buckeyes. It's Robbie Klein out of Moeller, and Ohio State now picks up a point, cuts it to 16-13. And again, Klein's play is going to be huge. If he can get on fire, the Buckeyes can make this a contest.
Absolutely, and he needs to change the momentum. Penn State was getting some easy points, and that powerful hit allows OSU to get a little bit of momentum.
Lipsitz and company doing it again, up 17-13, and now Max will go back to serve. Well, this guy has shown us the complete game so far. Big number 9 with a nod of approval.
Yeah, it's like, keep setting me.
Matthews in the back row attack. The Buckeyes trying to come up with it, but Sam Stevens initially I thought was too strong, but no, the Buckeyes are going to get the point.
Yeah, a little contact at the net here from the blockers. Again, you want to reach over, but there's a fine line between reaching over and reaching over too far. You cannot touch the net. It's a side out or a point for the opposing team.
Find Hemmelgarn noticing that and making the call. That's a tough one there, and a free one for Ohio State. And overpass there, and the Buckeyes take advantage and cut the margin out of 2 at 17-15.
Well, an overpass is a front row player's dream, and those are such fun balls to hit. They're perfect. They're right on top of the net. You can usually slam them right down and just turn around and just give it a oof to your teammates.
That would make him slamming Sam Stevens.
That's right. We can call him that all night long. Slamming Sam.
But now Penn State gets it back with that one going astray, and it's now 18-15, and Matt Anderson back there. We talked about that California trip that they had. Penn State taking on number 4 Santa Barbara, number 2 Cal Irvine. They went 1-3 on the trip, but Coach Pavlik thinks it was probably the best thing that team could have done to go 1-3. They played very, very well, and they really meshed together as a unit. A long rally here. The Buckeyes looking for the push, trying to find the opening. Murray hunts it down. The back row sent across nicely by Anderson. And a miss hit that time for Ohio State by Robbie Klein, and Penn State will get the point.
Well, what a fantastic rally on both sides of the net. We saw some great defensive plays and defensive gets, but the rally ends with a hitting error, and you hate to see that. You want to hit the ball in court, force the other team to play the ball.
And get the setter to set it up, and that time Dan Matthews was not involved in the offense for Ohio State. Here's Anderson. Good get. On the outside, there's the attack and a triple block at the net for Penn State on the attempt by Sam Stevens. They guessed right, cheating towards the middle. And now Penn State's up 20-15 here, their largest lead in game one.
Well, here's the issue. When the pass is not on, you are limited to an outside set. Very predictable. The block can set up, get perfectly lined up. In that case, Penn State chooses to go triple block. It's hard to hit around triple block.
Anderson with a service error, and Murray, the setter, took it right in the face off of the net. Luke Murray going ow, ow a couple times, number 16 in the front row. And now Lane Trevin out of Pittsburgh, PA. To serve for the Buckeyes, down 5. Buckeyes need to get a streak of serves together here. And that one sails just wide. 21-16 after that service error, and they rotate back around, and now Aaron Smith with the honors. Here's a guy that started last year as an outside hitter and as a libero, so this is a guy that knows pretty much every position on the court for Penn State. Cross court to the back row. Matthews with a back set, the push over. Murray now. Free one for the Buckeyes. They can take advantage here. They set the outside for Stevens and tools it off the block, and the Buckeyes get this point, 21-17, and Audrey gets the volleyball.
Yeah, I do. Hey, but that's a good play by Sam Stevens. He sees the blocker's hands are not facing in the middle of the court. They're a target. Aim for the hands, wipe it out of bounds. Again, that's such a hard ball to get on Penn State's defensive side.
Murray again, and that time on the way up. Slammed down nicely by Max Holt. So that's the thing you try to do when you try to tool it like that. If that outside hand is not pointed in, you can take advantage of that and try to careen the ball off the block.
Absolutely. Sometimes outside blockers will start inside the court to help with the quick middle attack. As they're moving to the outside, moving to the pin, sometimes our hands just go out to the pin, and that becomes a moving target for the outside hitter, and a very smart shot.
Holt with a nice serve, and Sam Stevens comes up empty, and the Buckeyes are going to bring their second and final timeout here in this first game. 23-17. Penn State now with their largest lead in this contest, up by 6. In game number 1, again, we played a 30. You have to win by 2. It's best 3 of 5 games. As Mark Pavlik looks on, looking for win number 305. As we mentioned, a graduate of Penn State. This is a team that got by St. Francis in 4 games over the weekend. Take a look at the action one more time. Tough play for Sam Stevens down the line.
Well, it's a dynamic serve. Look how high up Holtz gets. A lot of power. When he jump serves, he is actually jumping about 5 to 8 feet inside the court. So it is a fastball that's coming at you. You've got to get your hands behind your hips. I'm sorry, in front of your hips. Play the ball in the midline of your body and angle that arm to the target.
Well, the irony is Mark Pavlik says about Max Holt, he can bring some heat on his serves, but he's erratic at times. Well, he's been pretty consistent here in game 1, and the Buckeyes are facing a 6-point deficit, down 23-17. If you're Pete Hansen, what do you tell your Buckeyes right now?
Well, they need to side out immediately. You don't want Penn State to get that crucial 24th point. That's a real momentum changer. Once they get to 25, it's kind of all downhill from there. They need to pass more efficiently. They need to be able to run a varied offense. I'd like to see Ohio State setter set a lot more quick, and I'd like to see them set a right side attack.
And the setter for Ohio State is number 4, Dan Matthews. We'll see if that happens as Holt to serve with the jump serve again. The back row. Matthews and slammed down nicely. Cross court put away by John Albertson. His offense has been improving. When he's on offensively, he can play at a level above the net that not many guys could attain. And take a look at this one right here.
Well, there's that quick attack that I was longing for, and what a well-executed play that is. But it all starts from a perfect pass right up to the setter.
He had 9 assist blocks last week to raise his career total to 213 and move him to 18th on the career list. Just blocked the net by the Buckeyes, including by Matthews. Matthews can do that, triple block that time. They tool it off that. Matthews' contention was there was some activity in the net there by Penn State, but he checks with Bill Himmelgarn. We should mention, too, that Bill is actually the down official up in the chair. It is Bill Zeller, so it's opposite of what we were told before this match. And the Buckeyes with the triple block, but they were able to tool it off that. Now Murray to serve. Murray doesn't put much on it, does he? With what some of the guys can do with their serve, Murray just kind of serves it up.
Well, I think sometimes you feel like you're in a rhythm, and sometimes you don't quite have that rhythm. So I'm sure Luke Murray, once he gets more of a feel for what he's doing there on that jump serve, I think he'll start bringing it on a little bit tougher.
It's 24-19. Buckeyes with work to do now. Look at this. And Meske has checked in. He is going to go ahead and play some in the back row. We talked about his injury, whether he'd get a chance to play. A nice block at the net by Matthews. And again, that's going back to what we said about Dan Matthews before, too. Matthews is more than just a setter. He's a good blocker as well up front.
Well, watch this. Solo block. Perfectly executed. Hands reaching back to the center of the court.
Through the back set. Pulls that, and nothing that time for Matthews to do, as that was spinning away from him. Tried to dig it. Could not. And the margin back up to 5 now in favor of Penn State. 5 away from winning game 1 as Alex Scooter goes back. Now, his father coaches at Mount Olive College. His mom is the fencing coach over at Cornell. She used to be the assistant fencing coach at Penn State. Got the head job there, and where she is. And as we mentioned, their family came to the United States from the Ukraine back when he was in 9th grade, in a nice open spot there. You hate to see that if you're the Buckeyes in the middle of that court, that opening, and Penn State able to exploit it.
Well, in the men's game, if you are not lined up in perfect position defensively, oftentimes you won't get it. This shot, however, is somewhat of an off-speed shot. So if you're a defensive player, you've got to be on your toes, and you've got to take these not so tough balls, the ones that aren't terminated straight down, and you've got to be able to transition and score.
Good triple block by the Buckeyes. Can they get it across? Some miscommunication after the triple block. Sometimes it happens. 3 bodies at the net, then an opening behind that. And that time, no communication. The Buckeyes now down 27-20.
But getting a touch off the block when when the ball goes in your court is actually good. That ball is well up in the air. You've got to run that ball down, and you've got to transition and score. That's the difference between a team that wins matches and one that loses very close.
Fought your way through it, and the Buckeyes did not. And now Penn State's just 3 points away from victory here in game number 1, up 27-20 with Gooder to serve again. What a good jump serve. We've seen that already here in this contest. And hammers that one to the back row. Martin got that, the libero, and cross court a little too strong for the Buckeyes. Sam Stevens had a bit too much on that, and now it's 28-20.
Again, setter pulled off the net all the way to the 10-foot line. Only one setting option. That's your left side hitter. You've got to score.
See Robbie Klein with the attack on that one for the Buckeyes. So now just 2 points away from winning this game for Penn State. Once again, here's Gooder. A little off speed that time. Buckeyes trying to slam it down with Trevin. Penn State trying to answer. Crusty with the free one here. Back set by Matthews. And the attempt that time by Verson misses, so it's game point now for Penn State, up 29-20.
Verson's ball actually hit the antenna. Once that ball hits the antenna, it's out of bounds. Here you're going to see it again. Nice back set. He basically has one blocker, but the ball was set close to the antenna, and he hit it on the way.
Here's Gooder serving for game 1. And again, that time the Buckeyes with some problem as Trevin went up in the air and could not connect, and now the Buckeyes are down a game, 30-20, as Penn State takes game number 1 here. Again, we played best 3 of 5. Penn State controlling things here in the first game. We'll take a break as we get ready for game number 2. This is Columbus Sports Network. It's local sports now.
Customer service supervisor
with Insight in Lexington, Kentucky.
The moment that I remember the most.
My favorite, 1987, the Keith Smart shot heard around the world.
The legend, Woody Hayes, stopping to talk to a couple of students.
Patrick Sparks shot a 3 from the corner to win.
1980, the first basketball national championship. Daryl Griffiths was leading the way.
0 time left on the clock, like picture perfect. That was the moment.
Afterwards, they came to the restaurant I was actually running at the time. I got in trouble because I fed them free. So.
We've changed our channel lineup, so now all the kids' channels are grouped together.
Digital 2.0 comes with an easy-to-use channel lineup, organized by theme, or what I like to call genre.
So, like, sports are...
All together, yep.
And romantic movies are grouped somewhere else?
Exactly, by genre.
Been very cordial. Can't believe any of that. Max Holt will serve to start game 2. Buckeyes down a game. Can they bounce back? We'll find out together here on CSN. That's Matthews. The outside for Stevens. Hammers it too strong. Sometimes that adrenaline pumps early in a game too. When you're down and you're trying to make that statement, you just have to try to control everything.
Right. The problem is if you try and control your shot and do a 3/4 speed shot, your opponent's going to transition and score. So you really have enough. You have to have enough confidence to go up and really just swing hard every time you get the ball.
Service error that time, so we knotted this contest up in 1 apiece. And here's Brett Ferson. I mentioned that Dan Esky with that knee injury. Opened the door for Brett to get some playing time, learning on the job, but he's done a good job of putting the ball in play as he did right there. Murray with the set. Buckeyes with a triple team on the block up front and off the block with Sales long. Penn State getting the point. 2-1. The Buckeyes had 3 guys ready at the net, but an opening in the back row.
Yeah, nice triple block here. Touch goes off, out of bounds. The libero for Ohio State just can't get there in time.
So it's 2-1. And Murray with the honors. Keeps it low, and the overpass kills the Buckeyes that time.
Those are so fun, Randy. The ball just hangs at the net.
Now, you were a setter. How would you know?
Arm. Hey, when it came on the right side, that's the only time that setters can get kills.
That's
They're
right.
a lot of fun.
3-1. Buckeyes down. Offensively trying to find a sink. A nice block there by Penn State, and that was perfectly placed in the back row and just inside the back line.
Yeah, it's a low set to the antenna, but nonetheless, the blockers are there in good position. They're high, they're over the net, they're reaching to the center back area.
Matt Anderson got most of that one for Penn State. Slam down, cross court nicely that time as the Buckeyes try to get something going with John Albertson.
You know, he hasn't gotten a lot of sets, and it's, again, because the passing's not there. At times, you just have to force middle. You've got to have the blocker on the other side of the net respect your middle, and that opens up seams for the outsides to hit. So I'd like to see Ohio State just force middle a little bit more, get the ball to them, and see what happens when the ball gets set to the outside. Maybe a few more seams for them to hit.
Stevens again with too much juice, so it's a service error and a point for Penn State. Up 5-2 here in game number 2. Penn State took the first contest in game 1. Winners in that one, 30-20. So the Buckeyes trying to shut the door here is Scooter ready to serve. We talked about his jump serve earlier. See what he puts on it. Not juice that time. That one may have sailed long if they didn't touch it.
Yeah, he's really bringing it on. I think that ball was going to go out of bounds. We'll see if Ohio State makes any adjustments in their serving pattern, serve-receive pattern. They have not. Same 3 or passing.
Watch Stevens. If he lets that go, that's going to go long.
Yep.
Sometimes you lose track of where you are by that back line. And goes after it, tries to come up with it with a dig, and now it's 6 serving to 2 here. And a service error that time by Gooder. He knew it as soon as he released.
Yeah.
The ball didn't have enough on it. Now the Buckeyes get it back down 3.
You know, you talk about serve receive. It's so important for the other guys who are not passing to call the line. You're so focused on the ball that sometimes you just aren't sure if it's going to land in. So it's real important for everyone to communicate. That's what good team talking on the court is all about.
Aaron Smith tools it off the block. Penn State gets another point, and the margin is back up to 4. There's Aaron. The one thing you like about Aaron Smith is he passes well.
Yeah.
Plus, you add on that he plays good defense. And he can put together a decent run while he's serving. Lipsitz, who had a decent run serving in the first game, has a service error that time, so the Buckeyes get it back, and the margin now just at 3 with Matthews back there to do it for Ohio State.
And Lipsitz is a little bit timid. I'd like to see him just go up and rip the ball on his serve. He just kind of seems to be placing it a little bit more. You kind of just have to let it go.
He kind of was all over in the first game. Remember, he had some speed, and then he took some off as well, too, so he's throwing the fastball and the curve, but you just want to see him crank it, eh?
I do.
Notice I threw in that Canadian for you, threw in an A there?
I noticed that.
Thank you very much. Anderson now with the honors for Penn State. 8-4 they lead here in game 2. Matthews with the set. And the Buckeyes get the point that time. Nicely done for Ohio State.
Here we see a nice quick attack by Lane Drebin. He's up, he's ready, and again, tools the block. And when Ohio State sets middle, they look very, very good.
Drevin's been very consistent on offense in that time. Got it to fall. Buckeyes showing the block of the net. Cross court. Does anybody help Stevens? Late attempt there by Connor Martin, the libero, but it's going to go to Penn State up 9-5 here.
Well, nice set by Luke Murray for Penn State. He was actually moving to the left front area of the court and sets behind him. Ohio State's middle blocker was following him to the left side, so it gave his hitter an opportunity to be one-on-one, and that's exactly what the setter's job is. Give your hitters opportunities to score, try and get them one-on-one with the block.
Smith with a serve and the attack that time, and the kill by Robbie Klein. Klein coming through for Ohio State. We talked about him in the open. They're going to need more offense from him. They're going to need a couple of guys to come through. Maybe Albertson and Klein. And that time, Robbie shoots it right down the middle.
Yep, and that back row attack just looks a little bit higher than a one ball in the front row. So very quick, very dynamic. Nice hit by Robbie Klein.
Drebin served, and there's the triple team block at the net for the Buckeyes, and the celebration by John Albertson. Albertson you like at the net too. You look at number 5 with his wingspan, though. Sometimes he can take up a lot of space, and that time Albertson in the middle of the sandwich there was able to get a paw on that one. The Buckeyes cut the margin to 2. Murray, I'll tell you what, the one thing you like about Murray when you look at him now is he can take a bad pass and make it into a good set.
Absolutely. The ball floats out of his hands. It's always in the right spot. He always gives his hitters the opportunity to score. But number 10, Alex Guter, with a great cut shot, gets his hand on the ball, drops his thumb, hits it inside the 10-foot line. Fantastic shot on the outside.
Here's Holtz. Good get. Matthews outside for Stevens. The double team block is there. Buckeyes save it. Stevens puts it up and just pushed across. So it's a free one now for the Lions. Lipsitz, was that design? Changing hands like that, or was he confused by the location of the pass? Matthews to set, and cross court sends it over. Nicely done by John Albertson.
Well, nice transition on both sides of the net. A couple missed hits, but nonetheless, you've got to score on the last one. Albertson delivers for his team. A nice pass up, quick set, little cutback shot there, kind of half speed, but finds the open area for Penn State's side.
Person serving for Ohio State, and hammered down on the outside. Nicely done. Great extension and elevation by Matt Anderson. He goes 6'9", folks, and that's not the tallest player we've seen in volleyball. In fact, Penn State, I think just a couple years ago, had a guy with 6'10".
Well, this is deadly. Lights out, no block. I mean, you've got to have your helmet on in the back row. You can get a concussion if that hits your head.
Nice little touch there. Putting it across is John Albertson again, showing a change of speed. Buckeyes just hanging in there. Down 2 now at 11-9. Yeah, they got some speed and some size. Anderson going 6'9". Can't imagine facing somebody at the net who's 6'10". Who's the tallest player you saw at the net when you were playing?
When I played, the women weren't quite as physical as they are now. Now it is not, you know, it's pretty common to see 6'2" players, 6'3". I'd say when I played 6'1", 6'2", but not very many of them when I played.
Tool it off the block. It's now 12-9. Penn State up in this contest. Catch all the action of the Crew taking on the Red Bulls. Crew on the pitch. The pregame show will start at 6:30. Then the game at 7 o'clock. Ray Crawford, White Burgess, Dante Washington, Katie Witham with all the action right here on CSN.
Those missed hits are scoring, so keep running middle. Again, the passing game focus for Ohio State. Push that ball to the net, and things look pretty crisp with them offensively when they do that.
And Albertson has been a key cog in the Buckeye wheel here in the second game as they're within 2 again. Murray with the back set. Buckeyes, can they keep it alive? Yes, they will. Person. Stevens sends it over, but it's a free one now for Penn State. Murray sets it and hammered in the net. Nobody could find it. And the Buckeyes will get a point off of that one. Saw about 7 guys looking for the ball as it just spun and twirled along the top of the net and stayed on the Penn State side.
Well, there was no contact on the block.
It was 4 hits.
So, yes, and so it was 4 hits there.
And there's Lipsitz, and that's what he can do so effectively. You know, you talked about it, and with that frame that he's got as well, too, he goes 6'7", and he can just hammer that thing straight down with the angle that he comes down at. You extend a guy 6'7" or who's 6'9" and get that kill straight down. It's very hard to dig anything out. 13-11, and now he's back to serve. And this time again, he takes something off the serve into the double team block. Penn State. Back row attack, block of the net by the Buckeyes, but no help there after the triple block of the net off of Matthews.
Well, Penn State, they're taking broken plays, plays that don't necessarily go up to the setter. They're able to still transition and score. So here, a broken play, but bump set in a nice position to where a back row player can come in and attack.
Lipsitz. Matthews, good get by Matthews there, and the Buckeyes, though, forced to send it across with just a paw, and back it goes by Penn State with too much on it. I'll tell you what, though, it was a good attempt by Matthews. Is an overpass there, and they tried to keep it alive for Ohio State.
And the ball just long on that Penn State attack.
And Matthews with the serve now. Buckeyes down 2. It seems like they've been down 2 for about the last 5 minutes. And a block of the net. And Robbie Klein with the enthusiasm that time. Lucky number 13.
Well, this ball is actually set low, tight, and inside. It's sort of the kiss of death set. And it's really hard for hitters to do anything positive with a ball that's set inside the court, low, and tight to the net. Always goes to the block's advantage.
Cooter with a great dig, but Aaron Smith comes up empty, and now the Buckeyes have made this a brand new game at 14, and Penn State will take the timeout. Their first one here in this game number 2. Penn State took the first game by a count of 30-20.
Ohio State just has a little bit more spirit. They're focusing on that pass. Their middle attack is looking very crisp, so Penn State choosing to call a timeout to kind of regroup here.
Part of the OSU Pep Band in attendance here tonight at St. John Arena, digging the actions. The Buckeyes have tied things here at 14. Tune into CSN for coverage of Ohio State's next men's volleyball game against the Hawks of Quincy University. Have all the action. Catch it Saturday, April the 7th at 8 and again at 4 p.m. Don Tronto and yours truly. With all the action here on CSN. It's local sports now. Good crowd here tonight. If you're the Buckeyes of Pete Hansen, what are you happy about here in game 2?
Serving and passing. I think they're serving tough. They're getting Penn State out of system. I like their passing game here in game 2. It makes a world of difference in what they're able to do offensively. I feel like a broken machine here saying the same thing, but it really does make a difference if you've got a pass that goes to a setter. The options expand, and the outside hitters are able to hit some angles.
Well, especially with the pace of this game, too, Audrey, that you play on the men's side. Buckeyes right now on a 5-2 run to knock this thing at 14 apiece. And you look at the attack percentage now for Penn State at .410. The Buckeyes at 29-7. So Ohio State trying to tighten things up, and they have. In fact, trying to take the lead now. And Matthews with the diving attempt and cannot come up with it. And Penn State regains the lead at 15-14.
Albertson right now with 6 kills for the match, and Klein also 6, hitting very high percentages.
Matthews with the diving attempt. And it's time for Matt Anderson, the 6'9" power man, to crank up the serve. Matthews could get there to save that as the setter. Murray into the block at the net. Nicely done for Ohio State by big number 14, Lane Brevin.
Well, nice read by Drevin. He sees that it's a perfect pass, and he sees the middle coming, and he has to jump just after the middle attacker jumps. There you see he reaches low and over. A perfect block.
Klein with a serve. Buckeyes have knotted this game at 15. Cross court, can they save it? They send it all the way back across. There's Matthews from the back row. And they hammer it down, an opening in the middle there, exploited by Aaron Smith.
And Verson for Ohio State, number 6, starts inside. He starts inside because he's trying to help the middle blocker with any middle attacks that come that way. There you see him chasing the ball to the outside. He barely gets his hands over the net. You've got to respect Penn State's outside attack. You've got to be ready for that ball to be sent to the outside and put up a good block.
And Smith with the service error as the Buckeyes not of this one is checking back in as John Albertson. And Buckeyes are going to go to the bench again. Dan Meskey coming back in for the second time to go into the back row and serve. Again, Dan's a guy that's been dealing with a knee injury. He was the engine, though, when you look at it, Audrey, that was driving this team early on. He's putting up some good numbers, a lot of energy, but that time, service error, he will check out immediately, and Connor Martin, the libero, will check back in. The addition of the libero to college volleyball, a plus or a minus in your eyes?
Oh, I think it's a plus. I think it gives kids that aren't quite physical the opportunity to play. I think in the men's game, the rallies have been extended slightly because of good defense plays. Yeah, that was 4 contacts on Ohio State's side of the net. Mental error there. So I do like the libero. For the women's game, it certainly has extended the rallies. You see some wonderful defensive plays. In the men's game, I think you see more defensive plays than perhaps if there wasn't a libero on the court.
Nice slam that time. Quick termination by Brett Verson, and the Buckeyes cut the lead to 1 now at 18-17. Some nuances, too, in the difference as to how the libero is used between the men's and the women's game. We'll touch on that in just a second. There's the attack by Verson, and now here's his jump serve. Nicely done. And a good dink that time. Just Matthews with the slam dunk, got his paw up there and pushed it straight down.
Yeah, you've got to take control when the ball is trickling at the net there. A great play. Just low, right over the net. Impossible for Penn State's defense to get.
just cleared the net. Murray with the back set. Buckeyes watching it sail long and getting the point and taking the lead now in game 2, 19-18. One difference between the men's and the women's game with the libero. I know in the women's game, the libero can serve.
Right, and you know, you can come in for any player on the court. It's not limited to a middle. And they can serve, and in the men's game, they cannot. So that is the biggest difference.
We're tied at 19 now. And does that trickle down to your level as well, too?
For the junior level, the libero cannot serve, and that is the biggest difference between the collegiate women's game and the club, the junior level play that these girls are playing now.
John Albertson again with a good game, too. Hammers that one down. The Buckeyes regain the lead now at 20-19. Stevens to serve. Albertson has been a key cog, as we mentioned, coming through with some big hits for the Buckeyes, some kills at the net in Ohio State with the slimmest of margins. Stevens with the jump serve, looking for the back row, and just a little touch, sails wide. Lipsitz with a miss hit on that one, and Ohio State has their largest lead in a game in this contest at 2 at 21-19.
You know, the timing on a 1 or 31, this is a 31, a quick set that shoots out a little bit past the setter. The timing is crucial. If you're off by just a split second, you're going to miss-hit the ball. So these players have practiced 1s and 31s to get the timing right, and just a slight either foot speed, getting to the point of attack a little slow will cause an error.
Tell you what made this play was the good job with Ryan Walthall, the libero, in the back row, as he was able to dig that out and set it up. And then we go back to Murray and company, how then in transition they can make things look so smooth. They can take something bad and make something out of it. But it was all set up by that nice little dig by Walthall. 21-20 Buckeyes. There's the serve. Matthews sends it over, and a nice hit cross court with some strength from Robbie Klein. Boy, Robbie Klein can really rap it.
Yeah, he's starting to come alive. He's got a triple block, hits high actually over the top of the block. Hard to the corner. That's a real tough shot to dig.
Drevin back in for Meskey, and John Albertson out of Parkway South High School into serve. And just serves out. Service error by the Buckeyes. 22-21. And back in again is Connor Martin, the libero.
You know, service errors sometimes drive people crazy. I know my mom used to say, you could land a helicopter on the side of a court. How come you can't hit a ball in, serve a ball in? And you're really trying to strategically place the ball.
Oh, the Buckeyes with a great recovery. It looked like they may lose the point. Then they come back and find the opening and get the margin 23-21. I have to ask you, with that point that your mom made, did she coach as well?
She did not, but she coached from the bleachers, you know what I mean?
She lived and died with you on the volleyball court. As we clean some perspiration off, and Sam Stevens says, you know what, I'll take that towel myself too and clean up some things. A quick conversation as Alex Guter comes over to talk to Bill Zeller. Our man in the chair. That is over, and here's Matthews now with the honors for the Buckeyes. Sends it to the back row. Cross court, they send it over, and a strong arm that time from Aaron Smith out of Forest, Virginia.
So we talked about Ohio State's block and why they start in. They start in because the passing game for Penn State allows the setter to set middle. And you have to respect Penn State's middle. Once the setter sees where the blockers are lined up, you set the ball to where the blockers aren't. So when the blocks are starting in, you set the pin. If the block's set out, you run middle.
Back set, the Buckeyes, can they save it? Yes, they do. Martin's got it. Stevens will push it across. Murray with the back set again. And this time a change of speed offered up by Anderson. Outside, Buckeyes going cross court. Miscommunication. They find the opening in the back row thanks to Brett Verson.
Verson not with the straight down shot, but rather the quick shot to the corner in between two defensive players. Great shot by Brett Verson, number 6 for OSU.
Buckeyes up 24-22. And again, Guter with the conversation with our man in the chair. He apparently likes to talk quite a bit. Serving for the Buckeyes will be Robbie Klein. At a match-high 19.5 points in Ohio State's victory over Ball State. And that time, service error, that just barely hit the top and came careening back. So a point for Penn State, and the margin now just 1.
Yeah, he wishes he could get this one back.
And the frustration.
Right. Again, getting to 25 is that crucial pivot.
Travis Fultz is checked in now, Audrey.
Yep.
He's going to serve.
Yep. when you're at 25, you know the end is near. You can kind of get on a run with teams usually.
Go for the power. Gooder comes up with a hit. And now it's a tie game at 24. The one thing I look at is Aaron Smith. Now, he gets about 4 or 5 swings a game. There's a guy in number 8 that I think looks like could probably carry more. He's gone to the bench right now, but you know, he's been very efficient out there and part of the offense when Penn State has needed him. Once again with a serve. Matthews hammered down nicely that time for the Buckeyes by Lane Drevin. It's hard to imagine for the folks not here the elevation these guys can get at the net.
Yeah, these guys are physical. They're great athletes. They're quick, jump so well. And that's why the men's game is really all about the net play, blocking and hitting.
It's about physicality and vertical leap. Murray with a set on the outside. The block is there for the Buckeyes. As they tag team it with Verson and Albertson, the Buckeyes up by 2, 26-24. First to 30, you have to be up by 2. And so Coach Pavlik says, you know what, we're going to take a break and talk about this. You have to make a statement here because Ohio State's just inching ahead and maintaining that cushion. And again, you got to be up by 2 when you reach 30. And take a look at the action one more time. On the outside, there's the block by the Buckeyes. And when you look at the replay, you can see that Verson, number 6, gets most of this thing.
Right. I was on his case a little bit earlier. He's a right side blocker, so he's going to be active tonight in the block. He started inside. I'm sure Coach Pete Hansen wants him to start inside. But the difference between this block and the previous one that went off his hands, he was quicker with his feet and he reached to the inside of the court instead of reaching out to the antenna. So a nice block by Brett Verson, number 6.
And remember, too, Verson is a guy that is somewhat learning on the job, too, because of the injury to Dan Meskey. When Meskey went down, it was Verson that inherited that starting position. And, you know, it's pretty tough to learn anything while on the job, and especially when the ball is coming at you at 100 miles an hour. And here's a guy that's made the adjustment under the tutelage of that guy right there, Pete Hansen. Not only does he know volleyball, but folks, he is one of the classiest coaches you'll ever meet on any level. And the only sad thing I think about when I think about men's volleyball is you have Penn State and Ohio State. In essence, some people would say Big Ten teams, but they're the only 2 schools that field men's volleyball teams. And in essence, they're in 2 different leagues. Because of that, you'd love to see a Big Ten conference for volleyball.
Well, and you see enough men's, boys, junior volleyball. There's a lot more kids that are playing now. Many high school teams are now fielding volleyball teams, and you're seeing the level of play, especially here in Ohio, really get better.
Albertson comes through, and he is vocal as well. And the Buckeyes get their cushion up to 3 now at 27-24. Albertson, listen to him. He's pumped. Here's Drevin. And service error cuts that lead now to 2 for Ohio State at 27-25 as Martin, the libero, checks back in. Again, unlimited substitutions for that libero in the back row. To serve again is Max Holt. And that was a boomer. Matthews. I'm telling you what, is Albertson's time right now. Albertson is pumped, and I think the Buckeyes are going to look for him. He has played solid here in game 2.
Yeah, he's on fire. He's demanding sets. He's getting up, and again, he's one-on-one with the other middle across the net, and he's choosing the angle he wants to hit. He's dynamic. He's a heck of a good player.
And the chant of OSU now with the Buckeyes up by 3, 28-25 here in game 2, looking to tie this match up. We play best 3 of 5. First to 30 by 2. In game 5, it's the first to 15 by 2. And the block at the net by the Buckeyes again, Matthews, and guess who? Albertson again.
Well, that's huge. And it's nice to see your outside block, again, perfectly lined up, reaching in, penetrating over the net. That's a big point for OSU.
Game point for the Buckeyes. Can they come through? Gooder hammers it down. When in doubt, go to the guy with the big swing. Since folks will tell you that follow Penn State, Gooder gets a lot of the attention because he's kind of the Nolan Ryan out there with the fastball, and that's what they needed right there. And it stops the run by the Buckeyes and makes the score now 29-26.
He has got a great cross-court shot. When he's front row, OSU's front row should take him cross-court.
Gooder again. Stevens from the back. Murray for Gooder again. Buckeyes have a chance here. Matthews sets the outside with Stevens off the block.
Ball was hit out of bounds. It hit the antenna.
Hit the antenna on the far side, so now it's 29-27.
So right now it's a matchup between Guter and OSU's left side. I believe that's number 9, Sam Stevens. We'll see who wins the battle.
And the serve sails long, so the point is moot. The Buckeyes get the point, and now they have evened this match as they win game 2. Buckeyes win that one 30-27, so we're tied now at a game apiece here in this contest at St. John Arena. The Buckeyes with a mark of 18-2. Penn State coming in with a mark of 17-5 here. Impressive performance by Ohio State Albertson Company coming through, and we're going to be joined by the head coach of the Buckeyes, Pete Hansen, who's down at midcourt. And Coach, first of all, congratulations on the comeback in game 2. What went well for the Buckeyes in that second game?
Well, I think we did a better job of keeping the serve in, and we finally got our passers to just relax and keep the ball in the pocket for our setter to run our offense, and kept a little pressure on Penn State, and then our block got zoned in on their hitters, and we stuffed a couple balls.
Hey, Coach, Alex Guter for Penn State. He seems to be ripping the ball cross court. Are you going to make any adjustments on your block, taking him any other way? Or are you trying to channel his hits to go cross court so you can transition?
No, we're trying to take him cross court. We keep telling our guys move in, and we're trying to dig underneath. But he's a good hitter, and he's going to keep just banging that thing. But hopefully we'll get it figured out.
Talk about the play of John Albertson quickly in game number 2, if you will.
He was real big for us. You know, I think he kind of ignited our offense, got us back into it emotionally, and then he just came on as a blocker at the end of the game and really took over at the net for us.
Coach, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Randy.
We are tied up at a game apiece. Game 1 went to Penn State, 30-20. The Buckeyes come back and get game 2, 30-27, thanks to that serve sailing along, and we are all knotted up with 3 games to go. This is CSN, Columbus Sports Network. It's local sports now. NCAA men's volleyball action. Penn State number 6 in the nation taking on Ohio State at number 8. Buckeyes at 18-2, 7-1 in their league, which is the MIVA, and Penn State 10-0. In fact, they have clinched the league title, and they are 17-5 overall. Buckeyes serving. Murray. And the Buckeyes are going to get a point to start game 3.
You hardly ever see that call in men's volleyball. It was a setting error, double contact. Usually the refs are a little more lenient in the men's game than they are in the women's game.
Yeah, 2 hits and a lift. You never see that called in the men's game, but we just saw it there. Buckeyes up early. Nice block there by Albertson at the net. Outside, the hammer drop, the Buckeyes with the triple block right at the net. You can see the big strong arm there of Matt Anderson.
Matt Anderson has been unstoppable, and the thing that I like about him is his back row attack looks like it's a front row attack. He actually took off from behind the 10-foot line. He's in the middle back position now that they are serving, so he was right back on that previous rotation. But boy, he leaps, he goes past that 10-foot line. He lands almost right at the net.
Max Holt with a service error. He will check out now. And Ryan Walthall, their libero, will check in. Buckeyes up 2-1. It'll be Sam Stevens serving. Sam has got decent size, but he's kind of got the build of a linebacker, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's got good bulk to it. And this hit to the back row for the Buckeyes by the libero Connor Martin. Knock things at 2 apiece here in game 3.
Now, usually Connor Martin, if he is there and gets his arms out, it usually goes up somewhere for the second contact to be played. He's got very good ball control.
Yeah, normally takes up a lot of space in that back row as a passer, but that time did not come through. And a nice job by Guter and company to find the opening in the back row for the Buckeyes. And Penn State on top now in this contest in game 3, 3-2.
You know, Guter is just ripping it cross court. And sometimes blockers will channel a ball in a certain direction. And you would think that Ohio State may be trying to take him more cross court, but at least the cross court diggers need to know, hey, that ball's coming my way. I need to be down low and ready.
A simple push that time. The Buckeyes have a free one, a triple team block at the net, but it pulls off that block and out. And the Buckeyes have knotted game 3 at 3.
Here we see the libero for Ohio State setting a nice, what we call a 5-and-5 set. When you're in the back row setting front row, you want it 5 feet off the net, 5 feet in from the sideline, as high as you can get it.
Cross court, it sails too strong that time on the attempt by Matt Anderson. You know, a guy that hasn't been a factor much recently for Penn State is Lipsitz. Now, he was very effective in game 1, but he was very silent in game 2.
Yep.
Albertson to serve for the Buckeyes. That one just died over the net. Nicely done. And the Buckeyes with the double team block. But Penn State going to pick up the point.
Well, he's the man that delivers right here, number 10. He goes up. That ball comes down very close to the sideline, but it does land out. Point Penn State.
So we're not at 4, and Gooder's now back to serve. Stevens sends it across and sends it across, and it's touched by Penn State. And Mr. Gooder again having a conversation with our man in the chair, Bill Zeller, and the Buckeyes will take the lead now 5-4. Take a look.
Well,
was it touched?
Yeah, when we watch this ball, and it happens so quickly it's hard to see, but you want to see if the spin on the ball changes at all. If it does, you know that there's a touch. I think that clearly hit Penn State's block.
So the Buckeyes are up 5-4. Matthews with a serve, and it sails wide. Service error. We are tied now at 5 apiece here. Well, we go back and forth.
Yep.
Go back to the first matchup. Buckeyes won 32-30 in game 1. Then Penn State won 31-29, 30-27, 30-26. It looks like the same script so far tonight from a closeness standpoint. And that serve just in, and a service ace for Lipsitz. Something he also did in game 1. Not only was he strong in the net, but he was strong serving that first game. Can't imagine being 6'7" and known as junior. Huh? And there's a service error.
It almost seems like when he's serving, he's slowing down, and actually you want to speed up. He's a very talented, quick athlete. I'd like to see him just kind of rip the ball. Just his approach needs to speed up a little bit, and his arm swing needs to be really fast.
Is that the confidence of a younger player sometimes with that serve?
Absolutely. It comes from reps. It comes from, you know, tossing the ball 100 times without hitting it, just so that your timing and your toss is always consistent. So, yeah, it just comes from experience.
After that service error, here's Matt Anderson with the honors now for Penn State. Lions up 7-6 here in game 3. Each team took a game prior to this one. Stevens. That's the one thing with Stevens. Sometimes he winds up and he gives everything and just put too much on it that time.
Yeah, he's going to terminate, and it's either going to be a point for OSU or a point for Penn State.
Or a bloody nose for somebody in the second row.
Right.
Here's Matt Anderson back again now. Penn State with their largest lead here in game 3 at 2 at 8-6. Good hit by Martin in the back of the Buckeyes, set by Matthews. Stevens, there it is. That's what we were talking about. Stevens that time, good elevation and was able to bring it down more rapidly, and the Buckeyes get the point.
He's got a lot of power, strong upper body, gets up very well. That's a nice line shot. He goes right over top of the shorter block, Luke Murray, who's the setter for Penn State on the right side.
Here's Drevin, and a miss hit by Gooder. Can they hunt it down? Yes, they can. The Buckeyes now with the free one. Can they take advantage? On the outside, they set it for Stevens off the block. And that was Murray that time. And the Buckeyes now cut it to 1 at 8-7. Make that 8-8 as they knotted game 3 up.
You know, it's good setting strategy by Dan Matthews to set over Luke Murray, the setter for Penn State. He's by far the shortest player on the roster. And if you can hit over top of the block and hit down the line, that's a very good shot.
Good hammer that time by Hope. The Buckeyes maintain possession and get the point. Going down the middle, and Ohio State now taking the lead here in game 3.
A nice high set again to the back row. There is no play in the back court by Penn State. That ball came at them way too quick.
Good job by Robbie Klein. Buckeyes up 9-8 here in 3. That's Murray with the back set. Cross court, good get by the Buckeyes. Outside for Stevens. The push into the triple block. Matthews this time to Albertson. Murray jump off the net. And the Buckeyes won it. Albertson using his frame, getting up there to knock it back, and the Buckeyes now up by 2.
Well, Luke Murray front row as a setter, so he can attack the ball. There you see him calling plays. But that time, he was up, the blockers were up. It's not a real good time to attack. You want to attack when you're moving along the net and the block is caught off guard.
Here's Drevin now with the Buckeyes up 2. Good serve. Murray. Gooder. Smith, the double team block. The Buckeyes is there. And Ohio State with their largest margin now in game 3, 11-8. Let's see if Pavlik takes a timeout. Mark may want to regroup with his team down by 3.
Well, the line official is calling antenna. The question is, did it hit the antenna before it hit the block, or did it hit the antenna after it hit the block?
And right now the conversation between Brian Hemmelgarn and Mark Pavlik continues, but the Buckeyes will get that point and be up by 3 now. So Penn State burns their first timeout. They have 1 remaining here in this game. Buckeyes still have 2 left. Take a look one more time. You judge.
I think it went off the block. I think the ball hit the blocker's hand. Wouldn't you say, Randy, or do you disagree?
I think on the hit, the ball hit the antenna, then on the block it came back. See, I think it hit it initially. It's tough to tell. We go home on our big screens and we look at it, and then we can tell as opposed onto a 12-inch monitor.
That's right.
Mark Pavlik knows right now that his team is down by 3. Who is that young lady there?
Cute kid.
Who is that your daughter and son there?
Yeah, boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what.
It is a Flaw family affair. The Buckeyes right now on a 5-zip run here in game number 3. Again, Penn State took the first game 30-20. Buckeyes bouncing back 30-27 in the second stanza. Again, we play best of 5, first to 30 in the first 4, and then if we go to a 5th game, it is the first to 15. You have to win by 2. We'll switch sides when one team gets to 8 points. You get 2 timeouts per game, and the Buckeyes and Penn State have used their timeouts to stop that flow of the other team pretty effectively so far in this match. Murray, the hammer that time. Strong arm of one Max Holt, who we talked about in the open, comes through for Penn State, cuts the lead to 2 at 11-9.
And that's exactly what Penn State needed. Statistically, that's their 5th kill here in game 3. They're only hitting 18%, as opposed to Ohio State hitting 27%. So offensively, Ohio State looking pretty crisp.
Here's the outside hitter, Aaron Smith. Matthews, Stevens, it was touched. Gooder hits the scoreboard. Smith will send it across. It's the first time that's happened tonight. Oh, Albertson mistimed that, and he grabbed his leg a little bit too. Let's see if he's okay. I think he is, but it was mistimed between Matthews and Albertson.
Yeah, I think he was thinking tip all the way. He really never pulled his elbow back to hit. I think he was deciding, hey, I'm going to tip this ball. And really, you need to read the defense. You can't pre-decide where you're going to put the ball.
What was 3 is now down to 1.
Pre-decide, is that a word?
It is now.
It is.
Into the block, and Penn State now has knotted this at 11-10. How about predetermined?
There we go.
Maybe that was Canadian. Is pre-decide Canadian?
It is Canadian.
I've got my Canadian to English, English to Canadian dictionary here. Take a look at this, eh? I say this, and my cousin, of course, is Canadian, and I go to Toronto every other year, so
right.
I am part Canadian myself. Smith, the cross-court serve. Matthews. Buckeyes try to change it up. They don't set Stevens that time. And now Sam will send it across. Penn State with a free offering here, and boy, it is a strong arm again from Holt as he terminates. And maybe the Buckeyes are going to burn a timeout now. Indeed, they do. Penn State now on a 4-zip run.
Yeah, Max Holt is known as being one of the top 3 middles in the country. He is strong, and he is just a sophomore. So the youth of Penn State is looking very good right now.
Well, the thing is, too, they've only had 2 middles they could play the last 2 years. So here's a guy that's really had a chance to learn in his first 2 seasons with Penn State. He's been very strong out of Purcell Marion High School in Cincinnati. So that's a nice thing to do. Get a chance as a freshman to get some immediate playing time. As you're looking at a school, you don't think you're going to have that opportunity at a school like Penn State that often to start, but he was able to start as a freshman, doing very well now as a sophomore. Hey, you can join Ray Crawford as he hosts Crew on the Pitch at 6:30 this Saturday, April the 7th. Ray will preview the Crew's home opener against the New York Red Bulls with live game coverage with Dwight Burgess, Dante Washington, and Katie Witham beginning at 7. Tune in for it on CSN. CSN is local sports now. High school, college, and pro. In fact, we do that for you pretty much every week. I have done high school baseball. I've done college lacrosse, volleyball, and I'll be doing baseball, and on the pro level, doing the Clippers and the Destroyers, all that in a period of 8 days. And Audrey, you can't find that anywhere else but CSN.
You the man.
No, not
You
yet.
the man.
Eventually, I hope to be. I may be a dead man after 2 weeks, but I'm going to die with a smile on my face. Smith again with a serve. Remember, Penn State's made it 4 straight. That's why the Buckeyes burned the timeout. Boy, that was a tough hit that time by Verson, but he came up with it. And there's the block. And Gooder comes through, and now Penn State continues that string. They've made it 5 in a row. They were down 11-8. Now they lead 13-11.
Well, Gooter's career high is 29 kills against St. Francis. And right now he's at 14. So we'll see how he does. We'll keep tracking him. But right now he is on fire on the left side.
And those 29 came last weekend. That's when they had that matchup in Pennsylvania with St. Francis. So he has been hot the last week. Here's Smith with the serve again. He's been hot as well. Matthews, they need to make a statement here to the Buckeyes. Cross court, they send it. Jump ball, Albertson tries to win it at the net. Martin to Stevens with some heat. Good get in the back row by Anderson, and a miss hit that time by Ohio State as they try to come up with it, as Robbie Klein was kind of caught in tweener land back there in the back row.
Yeah, nice transition dig by Penn State. I believe it was 14. Yes, Matt Anderson putting it right up in the setter's hands. Setter dishing it to the middle. Nice top spin, I think, kind of half-speed shot to the corner. It's a nice one for Penn State.
Matt Anderson, 6'9". You don't think of that guy that size being a great passer, but Anderson showed you that there, set up the setter nicely, and now Penn State has that streak up to 6 consecutive points, up 14-11 here in game 3. On this hit, and now we'll carry on the Buckeyes and give it back to Penn State. And boy, you know, you're Pete Hansen. Your team is now down by 4.
Yep.
And you hate to burn another timeout because right now you're only at 15, in essence, halfway through game 3.
Yeah, and rally score, things can get away from you really quickly. So I would say if Penn State scores another one, you're going to have to burn it. And unforced error is really what Ohio State needed right now.
What the doctor ordered, and they got it.
That's right.
15-12 now. And the Buckeyes down 3 with Brett Verson and Elk from Centerville. With the serve. There's Murray on the outside. Gooter. There's the block of the net by the Buckeyes. Penn State just keeps that alive. Look at Anderson. Anderson with the attack. You know, you think that Penn State's going to send it across and the Buckeyes are going to get a free one, but Anderson with a solid stroke.
Yep.
And they pick up the point.
Broken play, and it's nice when you can get a strong attack on a broken play when a non-setter is touching the ball. So good play off the block to keep the ball alive. 14 Anderson delivers.
Holt with the serve. Matthews with a set for Stevens. There's the block at the net. Murray there and Lipsitz. And Pete Hansen hunts down the volleyball and pokes it aside with disgust as his team is down by 5. Remember, they led 11-8 in this contest. So what? It's about a 9-1 run for the Nittany Lions. Holt regrouping, taking his time. Sometimes when you take that much time and hesitate, you get out of your rhythm. That was the case that time for Max Holt.
Absolutely. Servers are used to bouncing the ball a certain number of times, tossing it in the exact same spot, using the same number of approach steps to get to the ball. And when something's slightly out of sync, it can really throw you off.
Stevens with the cross-court serve, and look out, Anderson into the block. And sails long, so a point for Penn State. It's now 18-13, Nittany Lions on top. When you think about the runs for Penn State here in this game, they were stopped the last 2 times by service errors.
Right, exactly.
There's the play at the net. There's Matthews, and to the Buckeyes, Albertson. Albertson is a factor in game 2. Let's see if they go back to him. He was the horse that got him through that second stanza. Right now, he comes through with a big hit, and he'll be serving as the Buckeyes cut the lead to 4.
I really like Matthews' hands. He's a setter for Ohio State. Nice smooth release on the ball. Puts up a nice set.
And puts up a nice block as well. As big number 4 for the Buckeyes comes through. And Dan out of Shorewood, Wisconsin, makes the big block at the net. Take a look at this one more time. On the outside, late leap. Timed it perfectly. And the Buckeyes now have cut the lead to 3. Murray. There's Lipsitz. Lipsitz is good at hitting that one on the way up. And again, we saw that from him in game 1. And mentioned that he kind of took a vacation in game 2, but it looks like he's coming back here in the 3rd game.
Well, he's alive. Here you see a classic 31. The ball is set low to the middle attacker. There was a big seam in the block. Number 14, Matt Anderson, just finds the hole and rips it.
Gooter. Matthews. Uh-oh. Stevens with a nice get to save that one, but again, a free one for Penn State. Lipsitz off the block. Penn State another point. It's now a margin of 5 at 20-15.
Middle attack, again, goes off the blocker's hands. Again, to be an efficient, effective blocker, you have to have strong shoulders, you have to have strong hands, you have to penetrate over the net, and you have to be sealed with the other blocker and be in good position in relation to the hitter.
Off the block, Trevin thought he had a winner there. Over the triple block, Murray with a back set for Anderson. Who's got it? Nobody can find it. Another point, Penn State. That's what happens sometimes with the outside block. When you look, you're looking towards the inside. You don't expect it to roll to your outside shoulder.
Right. You see how Ohio State's blockers are inside moving out. They're trying to reach to the middle back, but it is just a moving target. And if you have good vision as a hitter, you can see those hands and actually aim for them, push the ball out of bounds.
21 serving to 15 here. And a service error. That is the third time now that a run has been stopped by Penn State because of a service miscue. So Ohio State, let's see if they can take advantage and start a run here. Down by 5. Matthews, the setter, who's also the server. And the Buckeyes give it right back. Well, he worked so hard. Try to establish something, and just like that, Penn State picks up the point, and here's Lipsitz. Let's see if he adds more juice to his serve. You've been asking for it.
Begging him to serve tough.
A little tougher that time, but very measured, you could tell. And the block at the net by Smith.
That is a wonderful feeling when you are one-on-one, and as a blocker, you beat the hitter. That's what it's all about in the game of volleyball. It's a wonderful feeling.
And Pete Hansen says we have to take a break right now. If we don't, game 3 is going to be history. 23-16, they're down by 7 in this third game. Take a look at some of the action here as the Buckeyes trail by 7. And there's a solid block by Smith at the net.
Yeah, and when you're one-on-one, the advantage truly goes to the hitter. That time he hit right into the meat of the block. Very, very good block, though, by Penn State.
And the Lions now on a 15-5 run here in game number 3. You take a look at the new poll. Pepperdine, Irvine, BYU. And we should say, too, when you play BYU, if you have to play there, you might as well forget it because you have to play at altitude. And that is a tough adjustment for a lot of teams to make. Then you can see that Penn State is number 6, Ohio State number 8, and then Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne also in the Buckeyes League at number 10 in the nation. And we talked about Penn State, that road trip they had earlier this season. They played at number 4, Santa Barbara. They played at Keller Irvine. They played California Baptist, which is a power in NAIA. Then they played Long Beach State. So that's why Mark Pavlik felt, even though they went 1-3 on that road trip, it was a coming-of-age match for Penn State, especially the last one against Long Beach State. And this is a team that has played very solid. Let's remember, too, that Penn State hosted the national championship last year and lost in that title tilt. They're up by 7. Buckeyes trying to get something going here. Matthews to set on the outside. A little dink that time, pushed across. Murray. Gooder. Matthews. Gooder again to Smith. Nice skip by Stevens. Can anything happen? Matthews way back to get it, and the Buckeyes send it across. But now it's a free one for Penn State.
Oh.
That's what happens sometimes in transition. You've given so much energy, and then you meet that fastball of one Max Holt. And Penn State margin now is 8 at 24-16.
Well, Matthews' head almost came off. Wow, that was a big-time hit for Penn State. Take a look. Hello.
And goodbye. And here's Lipsitz. Overpass by the Buckeyes. And the third game is just slipping away from Ohio State, down by 9. Lipsitz not throwing the fastballs that you'd like to see, but you know what? It's been effective because his team has come through with some solid play, and as he's been serving, they've widened that margin.
Yeah, when your team is serving, it's all about blocking and digging, and right now the blocking game for Penn State is on.
Matthews and Stevens comes through this time to stop the bleeding for the Buckeyes and get a point. It's now 25-17.
Ball just hit off the block here. Back row attack for OSU. And takes a lot of confidence in this crucial part of the game to go up and hit hard. Nice job.
Robbie Klein with the fastball there. Excuse me, Audrey. At the net, pushed over by Penn State. Jump ball at the net again. And Penn State's going to get a point out of this one.
When the referee puts both hands up, it's a back row block. And right now, Ohio State's number 4, Dan Matthews, is back row. He's a setter, so oftentimes he's up at the net. And if the ball transitions very quickly, he tends to try and go up and block, which is illegal.
Anderson with the serve. Matthews with the set. The attack at the net. And that time it was Robbie Klein trying to come through, but Penn State guessed middle and guessed right, and now the lead is up to 10.
Nice high jump set, but big block again. Penn State's front row is really getting the job done.
And did they pinch with those three right in the middle there, too?
Yeah.
There was no opening for Klein at all. Martin with a good get in the back row and a block at the net, and the Buckeyes finally find a seam there as Lane Drevin comes through with the point for Ohio State, cutting the margin to 9 now at 27-18.
You know, I don't know if the viewing audience at home can see this, but after kills and after blocks, there's that look and that little side conversation between the hitters and blockers. It's very intense out there. A lot of egos out on the court. It's kind of fun to watch.
And a service error as well, now make it 28-18. You were never that way when you played, were you?
Oh, I think everybody's that way.
As a setter, were you the vocal leader out there for the team?
I would say so. I got pumped up and, you know, enjoyed being out there, enjoyed the competition.
28 serving to 18 here in game 3. Penn State looking to go up 2-1. A push over the top there by Albertson. Outside Gooder. The Buckeyes save it. Oh, Matthews gave his all for that, too. That's got to kill you, too, when you slide like that, like Matthews did, to make the dig, and then your team cannot come up with a point.
Yeah, it was a nice pancake. He just slides his hand under the ball. Watch it. There comes his hand. Unfortunately, it's one of those balls that's hanging right at the net. Overpass kill from Penn State scores.
Game point. 29 serving to 18. Matthews. The hammer job that time by Albertson, and Buckeyes stay alive. (29-19). It'll be Brett Verson to serve for Ohio State. A tough hill to climb here, though. Murray. And slamming it down is Anderson. And that'll do it for game number 3, as Penn State now with the upper hand in this match as they take game number 3 by a count of 30-19. So they lead 2-1. They need one more game to win this match. As you look at the action one more time, and Anderson going cross court with a winner to the back row. The Buckeyes work to do in game 4. This is CSN with more volleyball action. We'll have it right here. Stick around.
I'm RJ Walker. I work for Insight. I'm Steve.
Hicken kind of thing as you look at some of the numbers after 3 games. The kills favoring Penn State, the blocks now a little closer. Service aces, only 1 for the Buckeyes so far in this match. And the hitting percentage, you can see that Penn State now on top. The 353 clip to 241 for the Buckeyes.
Right. After that second game, Ohio State was on top with that hitting percentage. So you can see how actually just scoring off kills is crucial, and you're going to win games if you do that.
I like it. Say crucial again.
Crucial.
She made that 7 syllables. Buckeyes looking for some offense. Matthews is pumped the setter. Can he get some opportunities here in game 4? Buckeyes, as we said, you can't play defensive right now. Go back to that first match. Penn State lost game 1, 32-30. Then they took the next 3, 31-29, 30-27, and 30-26. We'll find out what happens this time if game 4 is the final game of this match. Penn State serving. Matthews to Stevens. Into the double team, but it sails out, and the Buckeyes get the first point here in game 4.
So Stevens able to win that matchup against Murray. Again, he's hitting over top and into Luke Murray's hands. That time uses him on the block to score.
And Murray, as you mentioned, somewhat diminutive, 6 feet tall, which in this game is fairly short. And as the setter out there, he does so many things well, but he can't create a 6'5" body for a setter so often. The Buckeyes get another point up early now in game 4, 2-0. But Murray's not a guy that's shy of the net. Neither is Matthews for Ohio State.
Look at this block from Ohio State. Again, the foot movement, foot speed to close on the outside is fantastic. That's picture perfect.
Albertson with the block, 2-0 Buckeyes. Served by Ohio State, the person of Trevin. And Penn State now on the board here in game 4.
Don't see those tip shots very often, but an off-speed shot here catches the defense off guard. It's what we call the campfire defense. Everyone's circling around and no one's ready to bust it in the middle.
We talk about the change of pace. Nicely done by the Buckeyes. And Ohio State, Brett Verson and company getting the point. And now Brett will serve up 3-1 here in game 4.
You know, I like this number 6. He's been going up there. You see a second tempo set, goes up strong and gives it his all.
That one just misses. The service error there. It's going to make it 3-2. Mr. Burson looks on. As we mentioned, he is a junior and a guy that's been learning on the job. As we mentioned, that Dan Meske was out for a while with an injury, although despite that knee injury, we saw him playing in the back row earlier in this contest. I don't think we saw him much in game 3. We saw him in game 1 and game 2. Gooder, not that good that time. He sends that one into the net. The Buckeyes up 4-2. Now the Buckeyes had a lead, remember, too, in game 3. Then Penn State went on that run, about 6 or 7 consecutive points. Here's Stevens. He just looks like a bulldog out there, doesn't he? I mean, he is tough.
Strong kid.
Murray with the set outside for Smith. And that took too long to develop and gave the block a chance to get there as Elbertson comes through for Ohio State. It's 5-2.
Yeah, generally from Penn State, even if the pass takes the setter off the net, his sets are pretty low and quick to the outside. They don't really go any higher than the pin. That time it was a little bit higher, lower to develop, and the advantage went to the block.
Great stat there. You can see the Buckeyes don't trail that often. When they do after 3 games, and they haven't bounced back, and ergo they've only lost 2. The Buckeyes, though, looking good in this game number 4, up 6-2.
There's a nice little spark here from Sam Stevens. A tough serve, drops so quickly.
And Mark Pavlik saying, you know what, guys, it's time to regroup in the land of Nittany Lions and come through with a little run here to get back in game 4. I think this is when you give a speech that says, hey, guys, look, we're a game away from winning this. You're Mark Pavlik. If you're Pete Hansen, boy, you don't want that stoppage in play. You want to keep it going right now. Stevens doing a great job serving, and Ohio State, you can sense, has that urgency right now. Audrey, they have to win game 4 to stay in this. And also, we talked about some retribution, too. Penn State won earlier in that matchup, and this is a very competitive rivalry between these two schools.
Well, absolutely. They're top programs. They're great volleyball schools, and both are hungry to win. This really makes a difference in terms of recruiting. You know, both of these programs are basically recruiting the same types of kids in this general area. You know, if you can boast that you beat a team, boy, that sure does help your recruiting.
Well, the same thing happened on the ladies' side, too, when you look at it. You and Jim Stone, and of course against Russ Rose and Penn State, always some great matches. I remember Holly O'Leary and I called a match that was like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and you and I called some Penn State matches in the past too. So the rivalry exists on both sides, and they're digging the action here at St. John Arena. The Buckeyes up 6-2. Stevens to serve again. To the back row. Nice get by Gooder. Anderson. Martin is going to get it. Buckeyes are going to have to send it over. Matthews gives Penn State a free one. Pushed that time by Gooder. Buckeyes, can they take advantage? Nope, they cannot.
Well, Gooder had absolutely no block, and he took a little bit off of it, but it was a ball handling error by number 4, Dan Matthews, the setter for Ohio State. Watch, this ball comes up. He's running off the net to get it. A little off balance there, and it's called by the ref.
So it's 6-3 Ohio State with Lipsitz back to serve. Good serve that time. Matthews with the back set for Elbertson. Gooder hunts it down. That's Smith, and the block by the Buckeyes at the net. This time they go to Anderson, and Anderson sends it right into the net. The Buckeyes get the break there, up 7-3.
Well, nice coverage by Penn State. They're getting a lot of balls off the block, which is good, but you got to be able to transition and score, and a hitting error, not typical of Matt Anderson on the right side.
The Buckeyes up by 4. Gooder with the attack from the back row comes through. Boy, Gooder is effective anywhere, isn't he?
He is really good. He's quick. He gets off the ground quick. His speed. So you are lined up in position to dig a ball. That ball is coming at you so quickly. You know, you're lucky if you get it up. So he's an athlete.
We talked about it. He's a Terminator, and the transition he had to make coming over from the Ukraine to the United States. And I asked Coach Pavlik about that, and he said, hey, he's American now. You talk to him, and he's American. Did you have to make a tough transition when you came from Canada? I mean, was that difficult at all?
The intensity of the game was a little different. I would say I was unaware of how tough the coaches were going to be on me. I think people are used to being a big fish in a small pond in many of these high school club programs.
Matthews with a dink. finds the open spot, and Penn State was paralyzed by that one. 8 serving 4 here in game 4, and a service ace by Matthews as well. Nicely done by Dan.
Well, right now he is the emotional leader out there. He is getting pumped up, and he is giving positive feedback to his players. So if he can deliver another good ace here, he would be a mighty popular person. But
He's
no.
over 80 in his career, but you had to say that and gave him the Sports Illustrated jinx. We're working 9 to 5 with the Buckeyes up, but Smith to serve now for Penn State. Glad to have you aboard on CSN. I'm Randy Reinhardt alongside former Buckeye All-American Audrey Flaw, now a coach and a teacher. And into the net, Smith sends a teacher in the Hilliard schools, correct?
Correct. 8th grade at Memorial Middle School.
The wrong middle school, I should add.
Yep, your son's at Heritage.
But great to have you aboard, and Audrey is so busy with the work that she does not only locally but as a coach and also nationally in volleyball. We're honored to have her here tonight. 10-5 Buckeyes. Good get in the back row by the libero for Penn State. Ball, and Penn State's going to get a point out of this and make it 10-6.
Defensively, there are what we call parallel lines, where one player is to cut off the short ball and the one goes behind him to catch the ball that goes behind him. And that time, Ohio State's defensive players, the libero, should have gone all the way across to cut off that ball.
Holt with the serve. Tough spin on that one. The back row, it's put over by the Buckeyes. Murray with a set, and look out. Gooder's up front now, and that could mean bad news for Ohio State as he cuts the margin to 3 now at 10-7.
Well, Drebin Lane for Ohio State has to have his blocking shoes on when Gooder's front row. Got to get up and over, and you've got to seal that block. If you notice, there was a little gap between number 14, Lane Drebin, and the outside block, and that's exactly where Gooder ripped it.
Holt's got it. Holt in hand, and here we go. And the Buckeyes get a break there. Service error. Albertson checks back in. Martin, the libero, will check out, and the Buckeyes have that 4-point cushion. Now, remember last game, the Buckeyes were up 11-8 about at the same point, and then that's when Penn State went on the run and captured game 3. Bevan. Murray. Gooder, and the block is there this time for the Buckeyes. Brett Verson coming through, and is he pumped or what?
Verson with the solo block. Nice job.
You talk to Pete Hansen, he will tell you his best attribute is his blocking, and you saw it right there. Take a look.
He gets quick with his feet, seals the net, and then an emotional charge helps his team get pumped up.
And pushed it inside. It didn't tool off the block, and the Buckeyes with a middle block this time. And now the lead is up to 6, 13-7. Look at the guy standing along the bench doing the little push up with the hands there.
You know, if you're Luke Murray, the setter for Penn State, where do you go? The outside got blocked, the middle got blocked. You've got number 14 in the back row, Matt Anderson. Let's see if he goes to him.
He does, and the block is there for the Buckeyes. You go back to Gooder this time. Yes, they do. And cross-court, it's successful. I just think he's a money guy, and you can't stay away from him too long.
Well, but do you see what happened there? The ball was set to Anderson on the first play. Good recovery in the back row, but now the block for Ohio State is spread out. There's some seam to hit. That's running a good offense, setting from pin to pin, knowing where the block is going, and setting the opposite way.
And making the defense think about all the different options you have out there in Lipsitz and Gooder and Anderson. 8 serving to 13 here. Murray with his floater. Albertson this time that one, and Penn State creeping back now. They've cut it to 4.
Well, Anderson is currently second in hitting percentage on the team. Right now I'd like to see his hand get back a little bit. It seems like he drops his elbow slightly and is kind of putting the ball right in the middle of the net.
Anderson hits it into the block. Albertson is there. The Buckeyes get the point.
Well, there we go. He made up for his hitting error by making a big block in the front row. Man, he gets up. That's a tough block to hit around.
Walthall hunts it down. And the Buckeyes now with a golden opportunity. Albertson coming through. Again, it's the even odd thing. Right. What happened to the Buckeyes in game 2? Albertson was the cog. Here in game 4, he's been very effective. The Buckeyes are up 6.
Yeah, and there you see the setter for Ohio State, Dan Matthews, is at the net. He doesn't have to take one step off the net to get the ball. That's good passing. That's good ball control on Ohio State's side of the net.
Verson is the person to serve. And that one is out. Service error. Make it 15-10. Buckeyes up by 5. First game went to Penn State 30-20. Buckeyes came back 30-27 in game 2. Penn State dominated game 3 30-19. And right now the Buckeyes looking to tie this up if they can win game 4 and force a 5th and final game. Gooder. Matthews. Outside. Stevens. Yes.
Well, we got number 15 in for Penn State as well. There's a little substitution that went on there.
Jay Stauffer.
Yep.
Out of Columbia, Pennsylvania. And we were going to call him Slammin' Sammy Stevens, and he's doing that now with a big swing. Murray. And look out with Gooder. I don't know how you stop that.
Yeah, I'm not real sure how you do either. You've got to get... I think you've got to know where he is at all times. When he's back row, he's just as effective as when he's front row. In fact, I think he's even more effective because the angles open up, and he's got that whip for an arm. Boy, it comes at you so fast.
And that's the thing. He doesn't tip his shot early with that whip. He can bring it through at the last minute. Albertson with too much on it that time. It's now 16-12.
Ohio State begging for a touch on that play.
Here's Albertson. John looking for the possibility of a touch. Mr. Zeller says nope. Lips hits with the serve. Matthews outside off the block. Martin back to Matthews. This time Stevens from the back row. And coming right our way is Jay Stauffer. Right by Mike Matthews, our low cameraman. The Buckeyes get the point. They're up 17-12. And Dan Meskey will check back in. He'll get a chance to serve. So Dan's played what in games 1, 2, and 4 now.
That's right. And he was a libero for the past 3 years for Ohio State. So if he's on, he can really do some damage in the backcourt.
Just missed the corner. So a service error. He'll check out. Martin, the libero, checks back in. It's now 17-13. Back to serve. There's big number 14, Matt Anderson at 6'9". I'll tell you what, between this and the high school baseball I did earlier this week, I've seen more guys over 6'5" in the last week than I've probably seen in the last 2 months. Hannah Lincoln's baseball team has 3 players that are 6'7" or taller.
Really?
They also have 2 that are 6'2" or 6'3". You can see that replay again later on this week as they take on Westland. That's one of the tallest baseball teams I've ever seen, and a lot of height, obviously, here in men's volleyball as well. Murray slamming it. The Buckeyes trying to save it. They cannot, as Holt comes through that time for Penn State.
And a nice pass by number 15, Jay Stauffer. He gets nice and low, comes off his arms perfectly with a little bit of backspin right in the setter's hands.
Stauffer making a statement here as a sub in game 4. So he's going to serve 18-14 Ohio State. A lot of time left here in game 4, and into the net it goes. Buckeyes now up by 5 as getting ready to serve will be Robbie Klein. Well, we talked about Robbie early in this contest about him getting hot, and while that's been effective at times, it seems like Albertson or Stevens have really been more effective here in the later games for Ohio State to get on their runs.
Well, Albertson's effective when the setter is able to set him. So when Albertson's on, it's because the ball control is on for Ohio State. And these service errors are going to come back to haunt these teams. They just give easy, unforced errors. I mean, it's just, you hate to see it. You wish that they had more consistency with that jump serve. But again, they are trying to get some shots. They are trying to put everything behind it. So the ratio of error is a lot higher.
The ball was too low. His body slant was too forward, too, when he came up with that. But now the Buckeyes answer back and widen the margin back out to 5. Again at 20-15 as checking back in is Albertson.
And here's Drevin Lane with a great middle attack. You know, he has been leading the team in hitting percentage for the past 9 weeks. So as a middle hitter, he's really taken on a load for his team.
Lane Drevin serving for the Buckeyes now. The back set, Dan, it sails too long. Buckeyes get that point, and now they're up to 21. That could be huge for Ohio State now. Up by 6, a little bit of a cushion, chance to maneuver, and I think this is a critical point in game 4. In fact, so critical that Mark Pavlik takes a timeout. I think we're on the same page. Every time I've said that, he's burned a timeout. So Penn State takes their timeout. down by 6 right now. They'd love to avoid a game 5, and the Buckeyes would like nothing more than a chance to play game 5. Again, in game 5, it's the first to 15, and you have to win by 2. And again, we've had rally scoring throughout. Do you like rally scoring? Did you like the old way?
I love rally scoring. I love the game and all the changes that have come about in the last, I don't know, 5 to 8 years. Really do like it. The only thing that was a little bit more intense about the side-out game is it took longer to win matches. Oftentimes, if you were a good side-out team, you could just hold teams, you know, at 14, 15. So it brought a little bit of drama, but yet there's drama in the game now too, so it's just a great game.
Fans tune in to CSN for coverage of Ohio State's next matchup in the world of volleyball against the Hawks of Quincy University. Now the game will be telecast right here on CSN. Check it out Saturday, April the 7th at 8 a.m. and again at 4 p.m. Tom Tronto and yours truly with a call for CSN. Hope to have you on board on CSN College Sports, high school sports, pro sports. We've got it all on Columbus Sports Network. It's local sports now. Some new numbers have just filtered into us.
That's right. Penn State hitting 0% for game 4. 7 kills, 7 errors. So that's not looking too good. Ohio State, on the other hand, 7 kills, 2 errors, hitting .385. So Ohio State on a roll, and the scoreboard shows it.
Anderson, too strong that time, trying to look for an opening in the back row. And despite the timeout, the Buckeyes now have a 7-point lead at 22-15. Anderson pumped and has too much on that one, looking for an opening in the back row. And now Trevin to serve again for Ohio State. Good serve by Lane that time. Murray with the back set ups, and the Buckeyes are going to get a point off of that one.
The thing to note too about the serve is you're trying to get people out of the offensive weaponry here, and right now number 14 Drevin Lane, the serving target is number 10 on the other side. We've been calling his name all night, Alex Guter. If you can serve him and get him on the floor, you know, going to his knee for passing, he won't be as effective in the front row.
That one is free, and Penn State gets the point. Interesting substitution just took place. I don't know if you noticed that. The setter went out. Luke Murray replaced by Travis Fultz. Another setter, also a little taller by about 2.5 inches. So he's in there now. In fact, he'll be serving. 23-16 Buckeyes. Matthews. And hammered down by Brett Ferguson. The Buckeyes now have an 8-point lead. First one to 30 here by 2 in game 4. Wins this. If the Buckeyes can do it, they can force game 5.
Sorry, Randy. Nice snap down the line. There you see there's a little area between the blocker's left hand and the antenna. He finds it and rips it.
And just like that, give it back to Penn State, down by a touchdown. Looks like a football score, 24-17. Here's Guter. Good news about this, he's the back row if you're a Buckeye fan, but bad news is he's shown us that he can attack from the back row as well. And that one sails wide. Boy, there was a lot of effort on that serve, a lot of time. That ball was put up in the air, and have to hammer that just right, and that time he missed it. Service errors, they come back to haunt Penn State here, games 2 and 4. 25-17 Buckeyes. Here's Stevens. Now for me, I'd be out there underhand again, you know, serve. I can't generate that kind of speed or spin in that time. Sam Stevens had too much of both, and Lipsitz now back to serve for Penn State. And that one is too strong. Alphonse Gaston here, one mistake. You add another, and Buckeyes with the substitution as the libero checks out. Checking back in is Drevin for Ohio State. 26-18, Albertson serving. Just skimmed the top of the net, a little push there. Matthews, Albertson, back row Stevens into a block. Sam saves it. That's Matthews again. To the outside it goes. And sent across nicely by Robbie Klein. The Buckeyes inching closer to 30, up by 9.
A nicely placed shot by Robbie Klein. Again, just top speed in the corner, away from the defensive player. Here you see it comes from the back row, the set does. Nice and deep to the corner.
Meanwhile, Albertson long with a serve. The service error gives Penn State a point and a chance to serve. 27-19 Buckeyes. Martin checks back in as a libero in the back row for the Buckeyes. Again, unlimited substitutions for that libero in the back row. Penn State's gone to the bench again as Ryan Schweitzer in there to serve. And well, I tell you what, service errors killing both teams here in game 4. Buckeyes will take it right now. They'll go for that exchange here to get closer to 30. Matthews up by 9. And the Buckeyes get the point. It's game point. If you're Coach Pavlik, are you making these subs to rest the guys for game 5, or are you trying to make a statement of the starters?
I think you're trying to make a statement with the starters. I think these guys are well conditioned. I think they're physical enough to jump well in game 4 and 5 as they are in game 1. I think he's a little upset with the competitive spirit on Penn State side of the net.
Buckeyes to even this match. The back's up by Fultz. The block is there for the Buckeyes, but tool it off the block and out of bounds. So the Buckeyes see Penn State pick up a point. It's now 29-20 with Jay Stauffer to serve. The outside hitter who stands 6'4". Got to keep Penn State in game number 4. Stevens, Matthews, cross court. It's a winner for the Buckeyes. Robbie Klein near the line comes through, and Ohio State wins game 4 by the same tally that Penn State won game number 1. Penn State took game 1 30-20. Buckeyes came back 30-27. Penn State took game 3 30-19. The Buckeyes win by 10 in game 4 30-20. It has come down to a game 5, the first of 15 by 2. Will it be the Buckeyes? Will it be Penn State? You'll find out right here on CSN. It's Columbus Sports Network. It's local sports now. As we look at their mix 5, it's come down to this here on CSN. Buckeyes and Penn State number 6 serving to number 8. Smith with the toss and flosses the net. Matthews the back set hammered. Nicely done for Ohio State as Brett Verson comes through. The Buckeyes lead 1-0.
You know, I love 5th games. It shows who's got the guts to deliver at crucial times. As a setter, who can you rely on to get the game point? I love 5th game matches. They are great. And number 6 right now, Brett Verson getting the first big kill for the Buckeyes.
Trevin with the service ace for the Buckeyes. He looked surprised at first, but man, that was a thing of beauty for Lane, and the Buckeyes now up 2-0.
Well, if you're going to bring it, now's the time to bring it on, and he does. That's a quick top spin that drops right in front of Penn State's passers.
This is like a 7-inning baseball game, folks, where you want to score early and make that statement, take the lead, because you're only playing to 15. But that time, a service error for the Buckeyes. And now that's service error number 25 in this match. Penn State on the board now. 2-1 Buckeyes lead. And Holt to serve. Good serve, good get though. Matthews outside. Stevens got it. Sam hammers it down. Buckeyes up 3-1.
Stevens with a fabulous pass. It comes right off of his platform, right to the setter. Setter holds the middle by jump setting. You see Penn State, the middle blocker there, not even getting over the net. So he's one-on-one on the outside, and he delivers. And another ace for the Buckeyes. This time it's Verson. Well, you'll take all those errors if you get those aces, especially here in game number 5. 4-1. Penn State's going to burn a timeout as Mark Pavlik's got to be wondering what's going on. His team was up 2-1 heading into game number 4. And the wheels came off. The Buckeyes took game 4 30-20 and making an early statement here up 4-1. How difficult is it to come back when you're down early in a game that's slated to only go to 15? Well, it is difficult. If Penn State is going to make a run at this, they've got to do it now. You cannot let a team, when you're only going to 15 points, get more than 5 or 6 points on you. It's almost impossible to recover from that. You've got to be exceptional in order to do so. We've seen great balance for the Buckeyes tonight, and that's one thing that Pete Hansen was talking about. It's just no one guy is putting numbers up that are off the chart. You check the league numbers in the MIVA in kills per game and hitting percent. And they're up by 3. And once again, Brett Verson back there. Don't forget the men's volleyball championship coming up here at Ohio State. For ticket information, that's the number to call, 292-2624. 292-2624. Penn State hosted things last year. They lost the title tilt. And right now, the Buckeyes see Penn State get a point here and make it 4-2. And Murray back to serve. This seems like it's an advantageous time for Ohio State because Murray doesn't put too much on there. He floats the serve.
See if they can take advantage, get a point here. Up into the block. Lipsitz is there. Buckeyes looked like they had a chance from Robbie Klein, but Lipsitz with his frame in front of it gets the block. And now it's 4-3.
Yeah, it depends how you look at it. With Murray in the back row, you've got a bigger block in the front row. So, but he does, you know, just serve kind of a floater that doesn't come at you too quickly. It's a little bit easier to get.
Albertson too strong. Buckeyes trying to say it's off a block, but there's no touch. And what was a 4-1 lead has evaporated. We are tied at 4 apiece.
So despite this somewhat easier serve, the Buckeyes aren't able to get a point off of it. So he, you know, he's proving that this floater serve is effective.
Outside, off the block, the Buckeyes get it. Brett Verson with the hit there, and Ohio State up 5-4. And here's the guy that'll muscle it next, and Stevens when he serves. We look at the action one more time. Right there off the block of Gooter. Here's Stevens. Even the grunt like Monica Seles there. And the Buckeyes pick up another point, make it 6-4.
A lift call on Luke Murray. That ball was crossing the plane of the net. He desperately tried to bring it back in, but in an attempt to do that, he held the ball.
6-4, Ohio State. Stevens does it. Another service ace for the Buckeyes, up 7-4. That's about their third ace here in game number 5.
And Pavlik, the coach for Penn State, is going nuts. He was on his knees. He thought for sure that that ball was out, and he's having a little conversation with the down official.
Brian Hemmelgarn along the far side. Mark Pavlik looks on. Buckeyes are pumped. The bench is pumped. Pete Hansen, stoic.
Is about as pumped as he'll get.
Under control. And a nice dig there. Murray with the back set for Gooter. Buckeyes try to save it, and they cannot. And Penn State comes up with a point. Gooter again with so much speed on that cross-court kill, and Penn State cuts it to 2 at 7-5.
Yeah, exclamation point on this hit. Look at that thing go.
Matthews at his midsection there just tried to make a play on it. Couldn't do that much with it. The Buckeyes now are going to clean up some perspiration off the court here. What's it mean to have a facility like this to play volleyball at? I mean, so many places are packed into a sardine can to play, yet you have a great facility here at St. John Arena.
Oh, this is a great place filled with history, and there is a great crowd tonight. They're very enthusiastic. They would love to see the Buckeyes come out on top.
Gooter. Here we go. Stevens. Matthews. The push off the block, out of bounds. Robbie Klein. Buckeyes lead 8-5, so we will switch sides. The Buckeyes up by 3.
Well, Klein took a not so perfect set and was able to score for his team. That ball was a little low. He takes a little bit off of it, wipes it off the block, and gets a big point for his team.
So the Buckeyes, the first to 8. Just about halfway home here. And in essence, you do not have a timeout when you switch sides, but you know, when you do, there is that quick conversation that goes on between coach and players. So it's an unofficial timeout when you switch sides at 8.
That's
game
right.
5.
And Ohio State needs to maintain their momentum and composure here and finish it off.
Meske serving for the Buckeyes. Penn State is going to pick up a point on the service area. It's now 8-6, and Lipsitz is back to do it now for Penn State. I mentioned he was a player of the week just last week in the EIVA. And there's an ace. Well, we talked about the Buckeyes getting 3. Now Penn State trying to answer back.
Yeah, Penn State is right back in it. It's 7-8, and the ball is in their court.
In the arms of a freshman, standing 6'7". Bumps and jumps. There's Matthews. And hammered down. Nicely done. Kept in by Lane Trevin. The Buckeyes get the point back. They're now up 9-7.
I think it was Connor Martin, the libero, to pass that ball. And if you look at the setter, perfect right there. Didn't have to take one step off the net. Had all 3 hitters as an option.
Matthews. Good get in the back row. Murray. Sent all the way back across. Murray again. Off the block. Matthews. Outside, off the block, saved by Martin in the back row. Matthews again with the set. Off the triple team. Anderson Martin again, the second longest rally so far in this match, and off the block and out of bounds, and the Buckeyes get the point. Holt was there, the double team, and the Buckeyes get the point. They're up 10-7.
Hey, Martin is the man. Connor Martin, the libero for Ohio State, getting the job done, keeping the ball in play. That's huge. Great defensive play.
Well, we talked about the addition of the libero, what it means to college volleyball, and you saw it there from Connor Martin, the pride of Avon Lake, and he went to St. Ed's High School. You can see what the Buckeyes and Penn State have done so far in 5-game matchups. Buckeyes unblemished just one time. Matthews with the mishandle, gets it back. Buckeyes up by 3. Can they hang on? Gooder. Good get by Stevens in the back row. The triple block is there in the middle there for Penn State to cut it to 10-8.
You mentioned Stevens' name. He has done a great job lining himself up defensively, but this ball is set inside. Again, a little bit lower. The advantage goes to the block. There was really no possible angle for the hitter for Ohio State to hit the ball into.
Anderson to serve for Penn State here in game number 5. The high toss. Matthews. Middle set. Got it. Klein. Big point there. Klein comes through, and the Buckeyes up by 3.
That's a lovely play and a great time to put this one away. It's a 2-ball, a crossing play. Everybody went with the quick attack. There's the first tempo. Boom. There's the second tempo. Well executed. A great play call by Dan Matthews, the setter for OSU.
In the women's game, we see a lot of crossing on the outside. We see the slide, but the men don't do a lot of crossing. And that time, a nice block of the net by the Buckeyes, saved by Gooder. Anderson's going to punch it across, and the Buckeyes had a chance, but in the back row it goes, and Klein with a miss hit. And Penn State gets the point, 11-9. Boy, the Buckeyes had a chance to answer there.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of slides, but what you will see is a lot of back row right side attacks, like Drevin Lane has been, I'm sorry, not Drevin Lane, Matt Anderson for Penn State has done a lot.
The other 14.
Yep, the other 14.
Travis Fulton just clears it. Matthews backs it on the play. Punched over. Murray now. Gooder gets it off the block, likes it, and now Penn State back to 1 at 11-10.
Now they are competitive, this Penn State team. They forced Pete Hansen for Ohio State to call a timeout. I'll tell you what, this Penn State team is not going to lay down and die. They are fighters.
Neither will the Buckeyes, as this match is just about 2 hours old. Buckeyes and Penn State. Glad to have you aboard here on Columbus Sports Network for this matchup. And don't forget, we'll have more volleyball coming up too, as the men will take on Quincy. We'll have that here on CSN as well. As you look at part of the crowd here in the pep band, entertaining. And you looked at the mark coming into this, and I think, Audrey, you could have expected this kind of matchup. Penn State number 6 in the nation, the Buckeyes at number 7, respectively, the top dogs in their league. Penn State has already clinched, and there's the Buckeyes up a game right now in the Midwest Intercollegiate Volleyball Association, on top of Ball State by 1 game at 6-2, then IPFW at 6-3. Loyola at 7-4, Lewis at 5-5. Matthews, Stevens off the block, saved by Fultz. Murray, Gooder. Good get in the back row by Matthews. Stevens into the block, and you can talk about the lack of size by Murray, but that time the setter was large at the net, and we're tied at 11.
Well, it was a great defensive get by Ohio State setter, but a non-setter set that ball low, tight, and inside. I've mentioned that a couple times. That's a shot where Sam Stevens needs to make a better choice. He knew he wasn't going to kill it. There were no angles to hit. He needs to go high off the top of the hands, roll shot, do something better with the ball that's set tight and inside.
And the shot by Klein sails wide, and now Penn State takes the lead at 12-11, and I think the Buckeyes will burn their second and final timeout rapidly here in game number 5.
That's about where the block is.
And our statistician is Steve Bassard. Our thanks to Audrey Flaw for finding some time between teaching and coaching and being a mother as well, and wife. Matthews outside. Stevens coming our way. Incoming. Buckeyes come up with the point when they need it and tie things at 12 apiece, as Fultz will check out and Smith will check back in.
Well, someone missed a blocking assignment here. The outside hitter goes up with no block. Here we have a game to 3 points. It's 12-12 after this kill.
You missed the blocking assignment. I nearly got killed on that one. Wayne Drevin to serve, tied at 12, game number 5. First to 15 again, and you have to win by 2. Drevin serve with some juice. A miss hit by Penn State and the Buckeyes. Have the ad right now at 13-12, and now Penn State will take the timeout.
Well, he put some speed behind that, and there you see number 8, Aaron Smith's platform outside of his body. The platform facing almost back court, so that ball was going to ricochet off his arms and go out of bounds. When that ball, when you're contacting it outside your body, you've got to get your platform to the setter, try and bring it back in, but footwork is important. You want to get your hips behind that ball.
There's D.C. Kale in the front row, a living institution here when it comes to Ohio State. He has done so many different sports, statted so many different things, and been in this department for such a long time that he is a fixture. I think we'll have to name a facility after him when he retires.
They would be lost without him, I'll tell you that much.
Picked a sport, he's worked on it. All right, Buckeyes up 13-12. If you're Pete Hansen, what do you tell your team right now?
Hey, to just keep the pedal going down. Full acceleration. Just give it all you got. Make sure you know who you're blocking. Call up the hitters. You got to stop number 10, Alex Scooter on the left side.
Drevin to serve again for the Buckeyes. Up by 1. Game 5. A raucous crowd here at St. John. Murray and hammered down, but too strong on the hit by Holt. And it's match point coming up for the Buckeyes, up 14-12.
So here's what you do. Serve Alex Scooter, get him out of the serve receive, or get him out of the offensive rhythm here that he's been in. We'll see if the Ohio State can score here on this play.
Crowd on their feet here at St. John. Drevin. And the serve sails long. That was the idea, to go back to Gooter, but it was just too strong, and now it's 14-13, but the Buckeyes still have match point here. They have to get it here. They have to win by 2.
And a huge point for Penn State. They want to tie it and extend this match.
Max Holt to serve. Eyes it, flies it, and there it goes. Matthews, the set, off the block. The Buckeyes get it. The Buckeyes win. Ohio State comes back, and they get the victory in this match, winning game 5, 15-13. What a comeback from Ohio State, down 2 games to 1. They come back, they win game 4, 30-20, and Audrey, they win game 5. You can't get any closer than this, 15-13.
Yeah, it was a hard-fought battle. Both sides of the net playing very, very well tonight. I was very impressed with the net play on both sides of the net, but Ohio State just a little bit more mentally tough, delivering here. The last 3 points were intense, but OSU comes out on top.
And a big win, especially coming off a loss against number 14 Loyola Chicago. So they get the victory in 5, winning in 3 games to 2. Buckeyes over Penn State. We'll wrap it up here on CSN in just a moment. It's local sports now.
In this house, things are different. A download happens.
To Randy Reinhardt, Audrey Flaw, and the head coach of the Buckeyes, Pete Hansen. And coach, first of all, congratulations on a dramatic finish here on CSN. A great television script. What changed for you guys in games 4 and 5?
Well, obviously Penn State kind of went belly up a little bit in game 4 and helped us out. They made a lot of errors, but, you know, I thought, again, our kids relaxed. They got back into just serving the ball, passing, keeping our offensive system running. And, you know, when you keep the pressure on another team and when things are going bad, it's just a matter of keeping the momentum going, and our guys did.
How big is this win, especially in light of what happened against Loyola over the weekend?
Well, it's big. It's something that our kids needed mentally as much as physically to beat a good team, to really finish something off that, you know, you play through the peaks and valleys. And, yeah, there were stretches where we weren't very good, but there were stretches where we were pretty good. And it was nice to see them finally make the right types of plays, the kind of plays we know we're capable of making at the end to pull out the victory.
Well, I was impressed with the offensive system that you guys were running, but equally impressed with the blocking numbers. You guys outblocked Penn State 14-9. Is that something you guys work on, or
well, we try.
Lucky tonight, or what was going on?
Well,
Pete?
a little of both. I mean, you know, Penn State's a bigger physical team than we are, and they should normally outblock us. But, you know, we were pretty good tactically in terms of we kind of knew where the balls were going. And then when you get them out of system, you really know where the balls are going. That's where you can gang up on them. And I thought our kids did a good job tactically when we got them out of system. And, and then we finally finished. And Verson adds an element of blocking that Meske, our opposite, that's out right now with the injury, is not the blocker that Brett is. And I don't know what Brett's blocking numbers were, but he was pretty good. He was in the zone and got some touches and got some stuffs.
Yes, he was good.
And, you know, you talked about this before the match, Pete. You talked about this was a team. This was not one player. And when you look at it, you know, go through this. You know, Stevens, Albertson, Verson, Klein, Matthews, obviously, everybody shared the wealth, it seemed like, in this match, and that's how you got the victory as a team tonight.
We tend to be a little more balanced just because we don't have a real high caliber guy. So we try to spread the offense, spread the wealth, and get everybody to just keep chipping in. And, you know, that was something that I think, you know, keeps their block a little bit off balance. And, you know, they rely so much on Gutor and Holt and Anderson, and obviously Anderson really struggled, so that made it one less guy we really had to worry about, and you know, that was beneficial for us tonight.
Well, Coach, congratulations. You know, it's taken us 15 years to get you on television with a match. That's not my fault either, but thanks to CSN and Columbus Sports Network, we got you on tonight.
Thank you.
It was a great match, and hopefully the first of many here on Columbus Sports Network.
We would love to, you know, keep putting on a show for you guys, and hopefully you'll come back. Thank you, Randy.
5 games every time, Coach.
Thank you, Audrey.
He'll have no hair if that happens. Coach, congratulations. Time now to look at some of the final numbers from this contest as the Buckeyes get the victory in this game. You see the kills 59-56. Again, going back, Audrey, to that number of blocks as Ohio State dominates in that category, 14-9. You see the hitting percentage and how close it is at the end. 280 to 276, and the Buckeyes prevail in 5.
Yeah, it's a game of errors, and right there at the end, the Buckeyes made fewer errors than Penn State. Really could have gone anywhere, anyway, and so Ohio State really doing a good job of closing this one out.
You know, so often I think the setter gets overlooked, a guy like Dan Matthews and his performance for the Buckeyes in a game like this, in a match like this for that matter. As a former setter, what do you know when you watch a setter in something like this that goes 5 games? It's got to be difficult. It's very trying. It's almost like a telethon out there, if you will.
Yeah, you have to really keep track of who's hitting hot, when they're hitting hot, what sets they like to hit. And you really got to be an extension of the coach out on the court. And I think he did a great job of running the offense and running the show tonight.
We talked about some of the younger guys getting some time out there for Ohio State, and I think you have to be happy by their performances if you're Pete Hansen. There's so many guys that came out there and contributed. We talked about the injury to Dan Meske, how he could not perform tonight, really at 100%, played some in the back row, but you got Brett Verson, the pride of Centerville, what he did, getting in the starting lineup. Robbie Klein, as a sophomore from an eligibility standpoint, did a great job too, and Lane Drevin, a middle hitter. I think he showed a lot of chutzpah in games 4 and 5 and turned it on for the Buckeyes when they looked for somebody. And then Sam Stevens, we called him Slamming Sammy, and also a Bulldog at times. There's a guy that seemed to have the offense when they needed it, and also made some nice digs in the back row as well.
Absolutely. I think he came through in the end for the Buckeyes. He was the spark defensively, like you said, offensively, really went up strong, wasn't afraid to score, really did a great job for his team.
Okay, if you're Mark Pavlik and you're Penn State, what do you tell your Nittany Lions after a loss like this in 5?
It's a tough loss. It came down to the nitty-gritty end, and I think you just almost when you lose a close one like this, you kind of have to be positive. There were a lot of good things that they did, but you got to be able to close these ones out. Some unforced errors there at the end, so you hate to see that as a coach.
Penn State took on a bigger team at times earlier this season. Well, tonight they were the larger team against Ohio State, but the Buckeyes prevailed. So size not always a factor in volleyball. The Buckeyes had the bigger heart, they had the blocks when they needed it, and they got the victory in this contest in 5 games. The Buckeyes beat number 6 in the nation. The Buckeyes were number 8. Look for them to move up after winning in 5. You see the scores as the Buckeyes win 20-30, 30-27 for the first 2 games, then 19-30, 30-20, and 15-13. Don't forget Quincy and Ohio State just around the corner. Thanks for joining us from St. John Arena for volleyball action. For Audrey Flaw, I'm Randy Reinhardt. Thanks for joining us. This is CSN. It is local sports now. Good night from St. John Arena.